Hollywood's new century. Hello again, dear adventurers of the multiverse. Thanks for joining us once more on this epic journey. Remember, this story is pure science fiction from our wild imagination. So don't go trying to summon dragons in your backyard. The rights of this amazing novel belong entirely to its original author. We are only the narrators. Do you want more adventures? Show some love to our YouTube channel with a subscription and a like. And if you want exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting for you with open arms. Chapter 326, Weakness Released. Simon, at the dinner just now, Columbia President Doug Beldrag asked me to talk about the current situation of several major Hollywood studios. Nina Jacobson said to Simon in the car, I know that if Xinhai buys MGM in exchange for MPAA members and gives up NBC Universal, if Xinhai buys NBC Universal, the threat to them will be greatly increased. Simon said casually. Nina Jacobson nodded. That's what she meant, but now MGM is indeed a hot potato, and the excessive debt is too scary. Don't worry, you pay attention to the group bonds that are being issued. I will be going to Washington in a few days to attend the White House dinner hosted by the president. I will chat with those fund managers and bankers on Wall Street, Simon said and touched his hand. Touching his forehead, he continued, I made a promise to the Big Six that were basically unfulfilled. If they did, I could buy MGM and give up the competition from NBC Universal first. Unfulfilled promises? Nina Jacobson said with a wink, which means that NBC Universal is still going to be acquired. After Simon returned to his estate in Beverly Hills, it was about 10 o'clock in the evening, 3 hours later than New York and Los Angeles. Immediately, I specifically called Nancy Davis to ask how much the film fund under Ninehead Bird Capital could prepare. Currently, there are about $3 billion in film and television investment. If I do my best, I can raise up to $5 billion in capital. Many state pension funds are interested in Xinhai Entertainment, Nancy Day said. Weiss explained, however, in terms of cooperation, we need to diversify, which can be used as a loan, and can be used as a share of film investment. Well, most of them will be directly in charge of bonds. How much support do those banks have for us? Xinhai Entertainment currently has enough funds for film development. Okay, after all, many films are now co-produced with outside studios, and some of the funding is already pulled in by the producers. The bank needs to make a specific risk assessment of Xinhai Entertainment's projects. Judging from the current contacts, there are many people who are interested. Most of them are most interested in the hope of getting some original shares of Xinhai. Nancy David see himself as very optimistic about Xinhai Entertainment, and it will definitely be a blockbuster when the IPO occurs. You can think about it, but it depends on the result of this acquisition of NBC Universal. Simon is very confident in himself. When the IPO of Xinhai comes, it will definitely skyrocket. By the way, the fall of the euro is about to start soon. I have already made the San Francisco Chronicle begin to sing badly. Are you guys starting next month? Yes, each fund has already stocked up a lot of ammunition. The San Francisco Chronicle seems to have launched a signal. After that, the media will look at several major rating agencies. When Greece's national debt ratio is announced, it will detonate, Non said. She Davies, a rare financial witch on Wall Street, is also feeling hot and exciting now. It's coming soon, it will be announced next month. This kind of thing can't be concealed. According to the information returned by Goldman Sachs, it can't be contained. Simon sometimes really doesn't admire Goldman Sachs. Deceiving foreign governments is like drinking water. No matter what kind of impact and damage it will cause to other countries, as long as it can make money. Help the Greek government make fake accounts to hide the EU? Simon, this time I have prepared a $5 billion hedge fund on my side, plus your $2 billion is a total of $7 billion. Well, that's okay. Many movies have not been filmed in Europe this year. It is because of the weakness of the US dollar that the cost of filming in Europe has virtually increased. I believe it will improve in the second half of next year. Hollywood is also suffering. It's nice to go overseas to shoot a movie and get a tax rebate, but the dollar's weakness offsets this advantage. Weakness began its release in North America on 11/20, held its premiere in Los Angeles, and the dazzling Nicole Kidman promoted it hardest time. Cate Blanchett, Hugh Jackman and Naomi Watts and many other Hollywood stars were in attendance. There was a long red carpet at the entrance of the Xinhai Grand Theater in Los Angeles. Simon Pike also specially attended this time, and also invited Michael Oher, the prototype of the protagonist in the play, who is now a member of the Miami Dolphins, to attend the premiere. It seems that the male lead Quentin Aaron is a bit bigger than Michael O'Hare. After Simon and the main creative staff took pictures, they began to accept media interviews. Mr. Pike, has Zinghe Entertainment also made an offer to MGM now? If Zinghe Entertainment is enough to fail NBC Universal, will it go all out to compete for MGM? Everyone, Simon squeezed his hands, and then said, regarding NBC Universal and MGM, these are the internal strategic issues of Zinghe Entertainment, and there is no comment. Today is the premiere of Weakness, which I dare say is one of the best sports inspirational films out there. You should ask more about the film. After pulling the topic back, Simon answered a few questions casually, and the reporters turned their microphones on the stars. It's such an honor to have the famous Simon Pike at the premiere. Nicole Kidman, dressed in a red dress, sat in the theater lounge. Simon laughed. This is also my company's film. Isn't it normal to come to the premiere? After the two hugged and sat together on the couch, Nicole Kidman was indeed happy with the movie. At the film preview, many critics were full of praise for the film, and this time my performance is also very confident. What do you think? Nicole Kidman spent a lot of thought. After all, this is a good turnaround chance. Don't worry, your performance is flawless, and the movie is in line with the main theme of the United States and the political direction. It is warm and touching. The Oscar judges will not turn a blind eye. Simon said up. That's good, then I can rest assured. Nicole Kidman is indeed a little relieved. In the past few years, her reputation has put a lot of pressure on herself. By the way, you also made a literary film Rabbit Hole this year, which will be released next year. Is it all finished now? Simon asked. The film is closed, I'm doing post-editing, and it's released by Venus Films. I'll have to learn about the various jobs when the time comes. Nicole Kidman has great ambitions and has always wanted to become a film producer. By the way, I want to buy a large ranch. Do you have experience in this area? Do you have any introduction? Simon asked again. The ranch? I do have one in Australia. Where do you want to buy it? There are many in the US and Canada, and I also have a farm in Tennessee, Nicole Kidman said, looking at Simon. Jumping the sex is too fast. And it suddenly becomes a farm. It's nothing, but sometimes I want to go to that kind of place and get close to nature. Oh, talk to me well at night, and I'll give you some advice. Chapter 327. How to choose. Actually, many states in the United States have many ranches. For example, Texas. There are many good ranches near Chicago. The scenery is also good. What do you like? After the premiere of Weakness, Nicole Kidman came to Simon specifically to talk about the ranch, the bigger one, the one with all kinds of scenery, valleys, grasslands, river valleys, streams, etc. Montana. The grasslands there are very rich and large, and you can also enjoy the snowy scenery of the river valley in winter. Simon likes to sit on the sofa and feel the burning closet in that villa in the ranch over there, leaning against Canada. It's true that most of the entire area is grassland, forests and the like. Nicole Kidman nodded. Anyway, Simon himself liked it. You are an Australian and a big Hollywood star. You should be somewhat clear about News Corporation, its status and political relationship in Australia, right? Simon asked. Simon doesn't want to make himself a figure in front of the political curtain. He will only be the force behind the politics. Fox News has always been a supporter of the Republican Party, and Rupert Murdoch and Fox News chairman Roger Ailes apparently have some intention of taking Simon. His weakness clearly meant to flatter Washington. This made Simon very unhappy. Although it was impossible to shake Simon, it would always affect Simon's image. News Corporation's media market in Australia exceeds 40%, which means that it has an influence on 40% of the Australian people's vote. You said that the influence is not great. Now the head of News Corporation in Australia is the eldest son of Rupert Murdoch, Lachlan Murdoch. He is basically the Emperor of Australia. If Australia's leaders offend News Corporation, it will certainly not last long. Nicole Kidman has lived in the United States for many years, but in the Australia is not short. Australia, News Corp, is really annoying. Simon frowned, but North America was the place to break. Most of News Corp's business is still on the US side. Europe and Australia are not the most important. It will only hurt if News Corp's business in North America takes a hit. 20th Century Fox Film Group and Fox Television Network. These two are the most important business divisions of News Corporation at present. Simon, you ask what these are? Nicole Kidman didn't understand what Simon was thinking now. Zinghe Entertainment is now basically comparable to the 6 major Hollywood studios. Simon Pike is no problem in Hollywood now. What happened to News Corporation? It's nothing. To my point, it's inseparable from politics, and I still need to go further. Simon didn't say much. In the future, when you get to my level, you will understand. Okay, let's go back. You have to be busy during this period of time. I have also made a trip to Washington, Simon said, and stood up after drinking a glass of wine on the table. The White House dinner was held on the evening of the 24th to entertain the visiting Indian Prime Minister Singh and his wife. Simon is also an invited guest, as one of the representatives of the entertainment industry. After all, other celebrities in Hollywood are also invited guests. Simon will go to the capital, Washington, D.C., on the 23rd. Of course, one day in advance is also to make friends with some government officials in advance. Meanwhile, Sony Columbia Pictures associates Michael Linton and Amy Pascal met with 20th Century Fox CEO Giannopoulos, $2 billion in cash and $5 billion in debt. Giannopoulos heard Amy say about Simon's terms, shaking his head. Giannopoulos said helplessly, "It's too difficult. $2 billion won't get MGM's creditors to nod, and MGM's debt will reach about $5.5 billion next year. This is the data analyzed by the investigative team we sent now. The momentum of Xinghai Pictures seems to be unstoppable. If Simon is allowed to unify the entire NBC Universal, with their film and television production capabilities, the NBC TV network and Universal Pictures will definitely be reborn again." Michael Linton is also with a sad face. Although the 6 major studios account for nearly 90% of the North American market, the North American market has only as much box office every year. If there are too many Xinghai films, then the market of other films will definitely be eroded. Recently, our News Corporation has been targeting Xinghai films. Nina has already called me and reminded me that it is not easy to use some methods now, Giannopoulos explained. After all, it was Xinghai. This level of entertainment plus Simon Pike behind it, makes some small tricks impossible to get on the table. As the locomotive industry of media groups, the film industry still has to start with films, and find ways to produce and distribute them, Amy Pascal reminded. Difficult, not to mention Simon's vision in film production. Let's say that Xinghai Entertainment currently has strong funds, and we do not have an advantage in the competition for projects and personnel, and Xinghai Pictures does not like to use big-name stars. There are so many in Hollywood. Who doesn't want to be able to work with Simon Parker? Michael Linton frowned. So, in terms of content, it is difficult for us to pose a threat to him. In the current economic environment, Simon has always had strict regulations on actors' remuneration, which is actually helpful to us. Our current advantage is still in the distribution of movies. In the North American market, Xinghai Pictures has established a firm foothold in the past 2 years. Simon is now spending a lot of money to set up an overseas distribution system, just to compete for the overseas market is out. If he acquires Universal Pictures and integrates the overseas hairstyle network of Universal Pictures, it will skyrocket. Giannopoulos nodded and said helplessly, "Now I can only go step by step. I can only target Xinghai films in distribution, and try my best to work on the movie classification of the MPAA Association." After Giannopoulos left, only the 2 heads of Sony Columbia Pictures remained. "We, Sony, can't be too involved in this matter," Michael Linton said with some concern. "Why?" Amy Pascal was a little puzzled. "Isn't it the strategy of the Big Six for a rising independent studio like Xinghai Pictures? Xinghai Pictures can't be held back. Simon Pike's relationship with the White House is not easy, and Wall Street also has his influence," Michael Linton said solemnly. "Also, Amy, don't forget, Sony is always a RB company. Xinghai Entertainment is a serious American company, targeting an idol of countless young Americans. Even if we succeed, Simon Pike can completely slow down the development of Xinghai Pictures, his revenge. How much will Sony have to bear? Sony, it is still different from the other 5 studios. They have no pressure to join forces against us. On the one hand, they can please the American people, and on the other hand, they can have an explanation." Amy Pascal was surprised for a while and then relieved. Sony, as an RB company, is also the only media group in the 6th major Hollywood that does not have a large American TV network. What reason? Isn't this obvious? Sony has always been very low-key in the United States, spreading American mainstream culture and courting political circles and mainstream high-level executives. Understood. Actually speaking, our cooperation with Xinghai Pictures is also good. Simon is a smart person, and he probably knows that we are not a threat to him." Amy Pascal laughed. Amy Pascal has been in the Hollywood film industry for more than 20 years. Of course, she is not a simple person, and she understands many things. In the early days, he was a production assistant. After joining 20th Century Fox, he stayed for more than 10 years and became a senior manager of the production department. After joining Sony, he became the CEO of Columbia Pictures, following Paramount CEO Shirley Lansing. The second woman to run the 6 major Hollywood studios. After that is the only woman in power among Hollywood's Big Six. Amy Pascal actually has a good relationship with Nina Jacobson. After all, as a woman, under the Hollywood patriarchal system, you need more of her kind. Amy Pascal has been in the top 3 of Hollywood's women's power list for years, and now certainly knows what choices to make. Chapter 328 White House Dinner. Washington, D.C., is located in the northeastern United States, in the mid-Pacific region, bordering Virginia and Maryland. It is one of the few modern large cities in the world that only focuses on government administrative functions, and its per capita income is also the first among all states in the United States. On the evening of the 23rd, Simon checked into the Hilton Hotel in Washington, D.C., not far from the White House. The next afternoon, Simon took the invitation to the White House for a dinner. This is the first state banquet for Mario's succession as president. As a reception dinner for Indian Prime Minister Singh and his wife, more than 300 guests were invited, including heads of various political departments, Republican and Democratic senators and representatives, business circles, sports circles, the entertainment industry and so on. The White House is located on Pennsylvania Avenue in the D.C. It is not small in size. Because of the large number of people and the small banquet hall, the banquet was arranged on the south lawn of the White House in Hollywood. Steven Spielberg and his wife, George Lucas and his wife, as well as Tom Hanks and his wife were all in attendance. There is nothing special about the dinner party, such as speeches and performances, and then it is a general dinner party. Simon did get in touch with a number of government officials: Hilda Solis, U.S. Secretary of Labor, California Representative, Timothy Geithner, Secretary of the Treasury and President of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, Bill Richardson, U.S. Secretary of Commerce and Governor of New Mexico. Hi Simon. Good evening, Mr. Branfin, Mrs. Branfin. Goldman Sachs Chairman and CEO Lloyd Branfin and Simon hugged affectionately. Okay, you guys talk, I'll go over there. Mrs. Branfin knew that Lloyd Branfin and Simon had something to talk about, and walked away. At the beginning of next month, the Greek government will announce the fiscal deficit of the Greek government, and now our major institutions are already waiting to sell the euro, and we will hit the euro at the fastest speed, Lloyd Branfin said as soon as he came. Greece's financial crisis in October. The Greek government's fiscal deficit and public debt as a percentage of GDP are expected to reach 12.7% and 113%, respectively, far exceeding the 3% and 60% limit set by the EU's Stability and Growth Pact. Wait until early December. As soon as the Greek government's fiscal deficit is announced, several major credit rating agencies led by the United States will immediately downgrade the Greek government's credit rating. Then, Wall Street will sell the euro strongly, making the euro fall, and the situation in Greece will also affect the rest of the EU, triggering a chain reaction. It's a good opportunity. When the time comes under the influence of Greece, other European and American countries such as Portugal, Ireland, Spain, and Italy will also cause panic. After all, their national economy is not very good. Simon smiled and asked casually. Road, last month's Dubai debt crisis, many banks lost a lot. It seems that most of them are European banks, right? Lloyd Branfin said with a smile. Dubai's preparing to restructure Dubai's largest entity, Dubai World. The debt is ready to be extended, and many constructions have been suspended. The Palm Island project is basically sure to be an unfinished building. This year's real estate market is not a general shrinkage. I heard that many Hollywood stars have bought properties there, Lloyd Branfin said and smiled. Dubai is in the Middle East anyway, and the oil capital is still very rich. This crisis will soon come back to his senses. However, it has some impact on the real estate business in Dubai. By the way, if I go to work with Middle East capital under the name of Zinghei Entertainment, will there be any obstacles? Simon asked about Dubai. Of course there is a reason Middle East capital. Simon, you are not an ordinary film company in Hollywood. You have a lot of influence now, and you also know that the Middle East is. Although the entertainment industry is also free, there will be a lot of resistance, said Lloyd Branfin. Resistance? Of course Simon knew that Jews and Catholics were sure, and that Middle Eastern capital would definitely have Middle Eastern cultural conditions. I won't say much about the rest. Capital from the Middle East will definitely be regulated by the U.S. economic sector. Warner Brothers hopes to cooperate with a Saudi sovereign fund some time ago, and the same is true, Lloyd Branfin added. Then speak up. Warner Brothers and the Saudi sovereign fund teamed up. Simon hasn't heard of it yet. Yes, it's still negotiating, and there is a lot of resistance at home. What do you think will be the result of some culture appearing in Warner Brothers movies? The United States appeared as a Catholic country to promote? It's impossible to think about it. And how powerful is the Jewish people in the American entertainment industry? Would they allow? Of course, it's up to you to negotiate. If you can get the Middle East capital to use it for you obediently, of course it's okay, as long as you're not afraid of the trouble to deal with those flies. Simon nodded. The cultural industry must be dominated by the United States itself, and the capital in the Middle East is not bad, but the market is too small. There must be cultural propaganda conditions for capital to move in, which is the same in any country otherwise. Why are there few film groups in Hollywood that cooperate with Middle Eastern capital? And even if there is, it can only be a one-sided cooperation in individual films in the future. Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible series and Fast and Furious series will be filmed in Dubai. However, Paramount, Universal will definitely not start a comprehensive cooperation with Middle East capital, and the massive injection of capital corresponds to the right to speak "I need a lot of money now." Xinghai Entertainment's acquisition of NBC Universal is imperative. Simon did not hide. Lloyd Branfin said, "Your nine-headed bird fund. Our Goldman Sachs and several other investment funds, plus the bank that has a good relationship with you, Wells Fargo, aren't they all optimistic about you, really?" Simon smiled and said helplessly, "NBC Universal's market value is about $30 billion, and I don't want to take out too many shares for replacement. How much do you think I am missing?" Lloyd Branfin twitched the corners of his mouth, feeling that Simon was really shameless. "Yes, shameless. You are a snake swallowing an elephant. It is normal for you to provide some funds and borrow the rest, but this elephant is very big, so what if you don't need to exchange more equity? Who has tens of billions of dollars to lend you to buy? Investment funds are invested by others, even if the risk is reduced by diversifying investment. Xinghai Entertainment is only a type of investment by others." Ha ha ha. Okay, I'm going to go to Central Europe, and there are people working in Asia. Simon laughed. Yes, the amount of capital in Central Europe and Asia is also very large now, and the economic recovery led by Germany and RB is very fast, which can be considered, Lloyd Branfin also said. After all, many banks are now in a period of loss, and so is Wall Street recovering. After the conversation was over, Simon and the others started chatting again. Chapter 329 Colombia. Soon after the White House dinner, Simon left Washington, D.C., for New York to discuss financing with Nancy Davis. Nancy Davis, who is busy with short positions in the euro, has indeed suggested, as the chairman of Goldman Sachs, that he can go to Central Europe and Asia to actively attract capital. There is indeed a lot of capital in Europe. Western Europe and Northern Europe have strong capital and can compete with Wall Street. They are also pursuing global strategies. We have already lobbied. Nancy Davis explained, the fast-rising ones are Central Europe and East Asia. Central Europe, Germany? As the largest economy in Europe, German capital has always invested in Hollywood. Could it be that they are looking for some countries like the Czech Republic, Austria, and Hungary? Nancy Davis smiled and continued to suggest, there are a lot of capitals in Germany who don't know much about the entertainment industry, or are a little cautious about overseas investment, and they can consider it. Alternatively, you can go to the City of London to set up a film and television fund. The European financial industry is generally concentrated in London. With the introduction of the fund company there, you can also better finance in various European regions. It seems that I still have to find those banks that were less injured in this financial tsunami, so the speed is faster. Simon nodded. After all, he didn't want to delay it for too long, otherwise there would be more shares sold. Simon, you should go to Europe as soon as possible. The euro crisis has begun, and now is the time for capital to flee Europe, Nancy Davis reminded. It's easier to stay home, I see. By the way, the exchange rate of the euro against the US dollar is around 1.5 now. When the exchange rate drops to around 1.2 next year, we will clear our positions. This time should not be long. It is estimated that it will only take 2 or 3 months. Don't be greedy. After all, it is the confrontation between the US economy and the European economy. We are just sitting in a sedan chair, and don't be a standout. Simon is just taking the opportunity of the confrontation between the US dollar and the euro to make money. Anyway, The US Treasury, the Federal Bank, and those big Wall Street capital groups are the big deal. I understand that we all use many accounts to trade in batches. If we don't pay attention, it is difficult to know the whole picture of us. Nancy Davis is also a veteran. This kind of thing is still very clear. At the same time, the opening score of Weakness was a box office of $33 million in the first weekend, and the number of theaters was 3,000, and 300 more theaters began to be released in the following week without him. The reputation of Weakness is really good, and there are no heavyweight movies released in the same period. Only a niche movie, Brothers by Tony Maguire and Natalie Portman, was released in the same period. The weekly champion of Weakness will definitely not be beaten until 2012 is released in the evening. Simon came to New York Central Park in Manhattan for a walk alone. The weather in New York in winter is a bit cold. Where are you now? Simon asked Sofia Vergara on the phone at home on this side of the Benson neighborhood in Brooklyn. Are you coming over? Where are you? I'll pick you up. Sofia Vergara on the phone seemed excited. Near Central Park, Block 84 on 5th Avenue. Simon said, after all, this is the Upper East Side. Where Simon's mansion is located. After Sofia Vergara drove over to pick up Simon, he went directly across the bridge to a high-rise residential building near the Atlantic Ocean in the Benson neighborhood of Brooklyn. Why is there only one person today? Sofia Vergara asked after Simon took off his coat and scarf and hung it up. It's nothing. I just want to be alone and quiet, Simon said as he sat down on the sofa opposite. The sofa is a floor-to-ceiling window with a view of the Atlantic Ocean. Oh, what do you want to eat in the evening? There are a lot of good restaurants around here, as well as Chinese restaurants. Sofia Vergara suggested. You can make something casually. Don't you often cook by yourself? Simon is not in high spirits now, and he has a lot of things on his mind. Okay, let me do it then. 2 hours later, Simon and Sofia Vergara finished dinner and began to discuss something. The popularity of Modern Family has indeed increased. Sofia Vergara's popularity, especially in Latin America. How is Xinghe Pictures film distribution network in Latin America? Simon certainly cares about these important things. The headquarters of Latin America is originally in Miami, but he has deep cooperation with Sofia Vergara's Latin American World Entertainment Company. Some small countries in China and the United States already have cooperation channels. Now the key countries are Mexico and Brazil. Mexico doesn't need me. Xinghe International seems to have a lot of ability. Now I mainly contact Brazil's local distribution business cooperation, explains Sofia Vergara. Simon nodded. Mexico and Brazil are also major Latin American countries, and Mexico borders the United States. Of course, don't worry as for Brazil. Although there is no need to pay too much attention, the entire Latin American region is like that. After all, there are many countries, and they are also important markets. There are many Latin American immigrants in the United States, and the entire Latin American market is not small. Xinghe Films wants global influence. With the growth of the Latin American market, the benefits to us in the future will also increase. South American beauty models are very popular in the United States, aren't they? Simon said casually. Correct. You specifically called me this time and said who would you like to introduce? Sofia Vergara chatted while helping Simon massage, and soon said after hearing Simon's question, it's Colombian rich Luis Carlos Sarmiento, chairman of the Avar Financial Holding Group. The Avar Group seems to want to know you through me. It seems that the Avar Group is also the largest financial group in Colombia. Simon looked back at Sofia Vergara. The largest financial group in Colombia? Simon himself must not know. But the nine-headed bird fund must have information. It's true that I've been short of money recently. The Avar Group came in a timely manner. You can make an appointment to meet. Simon didn't know if Nancy Davis cooperated with the Avar Group, but it didn't matter. There are many drug lords in Colombia. In fact, there are many hidden rich people in various ways. Looking for some serious businessmen, you should cherish them. Aval Group was planning to build a new TV station in Bogotá, the capital of Colombia, last year, but it failed. Aval Group should have intentionally developed in the media industry, Sofia Vergara continued to explain. I see. Chapter 330 Avatar will be released. Sofia Vergara is 37 years old. As soon as possible, but she is really in good shape. The mature style can indeed make Simon forget his troubles temporarily, and he is obedient. The feeling of being with Sofia Vergara reminded Simon of the times he spent with French Rose Sophie Marceau. The same mature temptation, the same hot body, and of course the same ability to do whatever you want in bed. Simon, lying on the bed, with Sofia Vergara riding on him, showed all kinds of amorous feelings. By the way, are you going to Miami for a vacation now? The weather here in New York is a bit low, Sofia Vergara panted. Going to Miami now? It's okay, let's see the situation, maybe go? Simon said while holding the girl's waist. Maybe the chairman of the Colombian AVAR group is also in Miami. After all, for people in Latin America, Miami is a paradise for immigrants to live in. However, it still has to be handed over to Nancy Davis to see if there is any need for cooperation. After all, the other party is also a financial group. If you really want to develop in the entertainment business, that's fine. If it's just a small investment, Simon really won't waste his time. Right, what is the situation in Colombia? Armed forces, drug lords, and poor people occupy the country. The country is basically a mess. Basically, the entire Americas, except for the United States and Canada, are in chaos. The huge gap between the rich and the poor, the domestic reactionary forces, the proliferation of the drug market, the corruption of the government and the military, and so on. Too far from heaven, too close to the United States, is not only a portrayal of Mexico, but Mexico feels the most profound gap. With Simon's roar, Sofia Vergara's whole body slumped on Simon's body. If I go to Miami, do you need me to arrange it? Mr. Luis Sarmiento has a residence in Miami and will spend time in Miami for a few days every year. Sofia Vergara said weekly. Wait until next year, when I have time, arrange for me to meet the person in charge of the AVAR group in Miami, Simon said casually. Simon is going to take a trip to Europe at this time. Whether it is Ninehead Birds, Xinghe Entertainment, or even Ninehead Bird Sports, Europe is a market that cannot be ignored. In early December, the disaster film 2012, jointly released by Xinghe Pictures and Columbia Pictures, was finally released worldwide at the same time. Simon also set off to London, England to do his own business. Los Angeles, Century City, 20th Century Fox headquarters. James Cameron and his partner John Landau came to the office of 20th Century Fox president Tom Rothman. Sit, James, John. Tom Rothman received the two, as the producer and director of the upcoming sci-fi 3D blockbuster Avatar, of course, would be warmly received. James Cameron is also a filmmaker, director, and screenwriter. He has been busy for a long time. Before next, Avatar will have its world premiere in London, England on the 10th, and then it will be released in a large area on the 16th, and it will need to fly everywhere. Tom Rothman has a very strong opinion on this blockbuster. Confidence. That Titanic more than 10 years ago surprised the whole world. James and I have been preparing for this film for many years. I believe it will shock everyone's attention once again. In terms of publicity, 20th Century Fox must fully support it, John Landau said. A large-scale promotion is required. Tom Rothman nodded and explained. We have prepared almost $100 million for promotion expenses. After all, the production cost of Avatar reached $250 million. For the release of this film, 20th Century Fox Films, like Titanic, raised $150 million with Paramount. Tom, don't worry, this movie is indeed a lot of money, but it's worth it. I used a lot of new technologies. The movie's projection effect on the giant IMAX screen is very good. It must have a great impact on the innovation of 3D technology in movies. Great promotion. James Cameron's pursuit of film technology is definitely at the forefront. Otherwise he wouldn't have prepared an Avatar for so many years. Hope it. Tom Rothman's mouth twitched. With such a big investment, 20th Century Fox was of course worried. That's hundreds of millions of dollars in real money. 20th Century Fox is just a subsidiary of News Corporation. It doesn't have as much liquidity as Xinghe Entertainment, nor can Rupert Murdoch be able to make as random a large sum of money as Simon Pike. After James Cameron and John Landau left, Tom Rothman saw an article in the entertainment section of the newspaper about Simon Pike's appearance at the Stamford Bridge Football Stadium in London, England. Tom Rothman has now elevated Xinghe Entertainment to the level of a serious opponent, which is too fast. The film performance of Xinghe Pictures has just rushed to the forefront. This year, Xinghe Pictures seems to be going hand in hand with the Warner Bros. Fake Marriage, Weakness, and this 2012. 3 films are estimated to have exceeded $500 million at the North American box office, as well as The Hangover, Twilight, Thor, The Ninth District, and Hurricane Rescue are all over $100 million. Hey, Tom Rothman sighed, looking at Simon in the newspaper and the beautiful girl beside him. Simon's in London, England, across the Atlantic, carved in the Marriott Hotel suite in London's Canary Wharf. Soaking in the bathtub with Sarah Bradner. Simon came to London and originally planned to have Emily Blunt accompany her, but Emily seemed to be busy, so Sarah Bradner, who was still in university in Munich, was called by Simon. The whole person was leaning against Simon's arms, playing with the bubbles in the water. Sarah Bradna endured the kneading on her chest and asked, "You haven't come to me for a long time. I'm at school, and then also working as an intern sports reporter at a newspaper." Simon smiled and said, "I know, there are a lot of things to do this year, and I'm very busy. This time I have something to do in Europe." Martha Cosby was sent to Europe by herself to buy a villa and make a data analysis table for Premier League clubs. The acquisition of the team is also on the agenda, right? The Bundesliga is about to enter the winter break, and I'm going to have a vacation. If you have time, I can stay with you for a while. Sarah Bradna continued, "Well, I will stay for a few more days, and I will also go to Germany at that time. I can find you." Simon has to get some funds to go back when he travels to Europe, right? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331, Kensington Gardens. Canary Wharf, also located on the Dugges Peninsula on the Thames River in London, brings together high-rise buildings in London. To the west is the old financial city of London, and Canary Wharf is called the new financial city. Some of the tallest buildings in the UK are located here. First Canada Place aka Canary Wharf Tower, 8th Canada Place aka HSBC Tower and Citibank Centre. Large financial groups in the United Kingdom, Europe and the world have offices here, and most of the headquarters of large British banks and securities centres are located here. 8th Canada Place Centre, the 45-story skyscraper built in 2002, is now owned by the National Pension Fund of South Korea and leased by HSBC as its headquarters. The deal was also signed only recently. At the same time, the European headquarters of 9 Bird Capital is located on the 30th floor of the HSBC Tower, and the 29th floor is also owned by 9 Birds, but it is rented out at the moment. Simon is looking down at the Thames from his office on the 30th floor. The head of 9 Hedge Capital's European region is Shimo Navarro, 45 years old, older than Nancy Haymo. "Life in Europe doesn't seem to be easy," Simon said with a smile. It has been more than a week since he came to London, and the Greek government has also announced a fiscal deficit. Greece's fiscal deficit appears. The international financial community wantonly looked down on the euro economy, especially on Wall Street. Shimo Navarro smiled helplessly. This financial tsunami has revealed the crisis in the Eurozone. Although the pound has not joined the Eurozone, the UK is always a member of the EU. Britain, Germany, France, and Italy are all European economic powerhouses. Although Italy is weaker, it is also large. With the addition of small developed countries such as Sweden and Switzerland, the energy of the EU cannot be underestimated. Simon turned around and came to Zimo in front of Navarro. He continued, "I need European capital to support my acquisition of NBC Universal, HSBC, Barclays and Deutsche Bank. Credit Suisse has all been approached." Simon shook his head and continued to explain, "It's still not enough. The support of their funds is not enough, and I need more capital to integrate. Boss, I remember that when I was talking to Nancy, the European side waited until the middle of next year, and it was close to $5 billion. Is it not enough?" Shimo Navarro smiled wryly. Phoenix Fund can raise at least $8 billion to $10 billion in Asia, plus the $2 billion to $3 billion corporate bonds issued by Xinghai Entertainment, and Xinghai Entertainment's liquidity will definitely exceed $1 billion available funds at that time. All that adds up to nearly $20 billion. Simon sighed. These are just plans. On Wall Street, Phoenix Fund bought a lot of stocks at the bottom, and there is not much capital left. Simon can't take out his $2 billion. After all, Simon himself bought a lot of technology stocks before. The remaining $2 billion is for Simon to buy football clubs, buy real estate, and invest in projects he loves. This time, we can make a lot of money by shorting the euro. We can do a large-scale fundraising at that time, and there should be more investors interested, suggested Shimo Navarro. After all, the reputation of 9-headed Bird Capital is very loud now. The global financial tsunami triggered by the subprime mortgage crisis in the United States has made 9-headed Bird Capital very full. Also, I'm afraid it's too late. The best thing now is to have strategic cooperation with large banks and make large loans. Simon sighed. This requires 1 or 2 large banks to be particularly optimistic about Xinghai Entertainment and fully support Xinghai Entertainment's acquisition of NBC Global. Do your best. Recently, I will meet with several major media capitals in Europe. The influence of Hollywood still exists. Where can direct capital injection be direct in film cooperation? Simon said with a smile, after all, not to mention the UK, after all, it is an English-speaking area. Countries such as Germany, France, and Italy cannot compete with Hollywood at all in terms of movies. They need to open up the market for the local film and television culture through Hollywood's perfect global distribution system. Isn't it the best to cooperate with large Hollywood entertainment groups? Anyway, they have been doing this all the time, raising funds to Hollywood, and Xinghai Entertainment is now a part of Hollywood, and it is still a part that cannot be ignored in London in winter. It is humid, cold and rainy. Simon Pike, who left the financial city, was led by Catherine Hills to the South Kensington area in the Kensington-Chelsea district of West London. Here, Hyde Park and Kensington Park are not far ahead, and there are also higher education institutions such as Imperial College London. Kensington Palace is not far from here. The royal family, foreign embassies and many nobles live in this area. Catherine Hills introduced Simon to the surroundings of the new estate. Catherine Hills is optimistic about a white 3-story single-family garden villa with a construction area of about 4,000 feet. It is surrounded by lush green trees and has good concealment. Yes, the Mediterranean-style Italian marble decoration style, the newly renovated house. Simon looked around and felt that it was good, even if he couldn't live. It must be a good investment. Catherine Hills was relieved to see Simon's good expression. After all, it was much more difficult to choose than a beach house in France. By the way, boss, I also saw a few manors in Saint-Tropez, France. Should I go there to see it? Asked Catherine Hills, as Simon's personal assistant attorney. Catherine Hills, just to keep Simon satisfied. Simon waved his hand and said, after a while, you will stay with me recently, and then Martha Cosby will have you. A piece of information has been sent. The assessment report on Premier League clubs collected by Martha Cosby for Simon is almost good. Since Martha Cosby is not with Simon in New York, it is necessary to keep someone who is handy for personal use. Martha Cosby and Laura Collins, who have been with Simon for a few years, are now responsible for more work. The little things in life. Catherine Hills, a lawyer, seems to be easier and faster to do, but Laura Collins and Martha Cosby must be Simon's favorite assistants. Boss, Avatar has its premiere on Oxford Street tonight. Catherine Hills suddenly reminded. Oh, Simon was stunned for a moment, looked at Catherine Hills, and smiled. Catherine, have you been paying attention to movies too? Catherine Hills responded with a smile. I just heard from the boss that this movie will be of epoch-making significance, and this movie is currently the most expensive movie, so I paid attention to it. Simon narrowed his eyes, wondering if he was jealous or envious. Avatar, 20th Century Fox is really lucky. Chapter 332. Avatar opened on a large scale half a month after 2012 was released. Similar to Titanic, Avatar was not dazzling when it first opened, and its first weekend in North America was more than $34 million at this point. The North American box office of 2012 has reached $120 million in 2 weeks. However, Simon knows that Avatar is another blockbuster that can be screened for a long time. It has a record of more than $700 million in North America and more than $1.9 billion at the overseas box office. The release time will not end until August next year. At the same time, when Avatar was released, Xinghai Kixing Film also released a movie that is. James Cameron's ex-wife Kathryn Bigelow directed the anti-war film. The Hurt Locker also released as an anti-war movie with a small audience. It is indeed discriminated against in its distribution, and Venus Films is used to specifically attack various movie awards such as the Oscars as for the propaganda point, that is, the female director Kathryn Bigelow, and James Cameron's ex-wife. The movie was released at the same time the West End, Burlington Arcade, is holding a Christmas lighting ceremony. As a traditional British event, various Christmas lighting ceremonies and Christmas parties have been held every year since November. As a famous commercial and shopping district in London, Burlington Arcade has a long history, and the annual lighting ceremony attracts many celebrities. Simon Pike accompanied Emily Blunt to the event with everyone. The Christmas ball is not just dressed as Santa Claus, it has a similar situation with Halloween, and many people will also be dressed in other costumes. Oxford Street and Regent Street have recently had large-scale Christmas events, marathons, concerts, etc. of various types. Emily Blunt's simple sweater and trench coat cannot stop her delicate figure. Marathon? It's still naked. Simon smiled. After all, he's been in London for a while, so it's not surprising to see this situation. Emily Blunt shook Simon's arm and smiled. I remember Americans are always very open and direct. You always seem to be different, and many living habits are different from most Americans. Well, more gentlemanly, more noble than you Englishmen, said Simon, drawing his arms around Emily Blunt's waist. Americans hate the so-called gentlemanly manners of Britain, and the British despise the vulgarity of Americans. I'm not a noble, our family has nothing to do with the Queen's family, Emily Blunt also joked, and then changed the subject. What are your thoughts on Christmas and stay in London? After all, the British still respect the Queen very much, and they don't want to joke around behind the scenes. I'm going to have a yacht party on the Mediterranean side for Christmas, and I've already had someone drive the Polaris from off the coast of Los Angeles to this side of the Mediterranean. And it's time to have some private dinners on the yacht, Simon said. Catherine Elsie has already dealt with it. After all, it will take some time to cross the Atlantic. Polaris, that's a 360-foot-long super yacht. Emily Blunt of course knew about Simon's yacht. This was a super yacht custom made by the rich before the financial tsunami was taken over by Simon, from design to construction. It took more than 4 years in total when Simon bought it. The yacht had already entered the outfitting stage, and then it was renovated. And it took more than a year to deliver. Simon nodded and said with a smile, I have only used it once, but I have leased it a few times. It is estimated that the Polaris will pass through the Strait of Gibraltar in the next 2 days. The Polaris is rented out, and the weekly rent is almost $2 million. For example, during the Christmas season, the price will be more expensive crossing the Strait of Gibraltar, from the Atlantic into the Mediterranean. Catherine Hills will then dock the Polaris in a beautiful harbor at that time, whether it is some bright streamers in Hollywood or celebrities near Europe. They will invite over to party. Simon, you seem to be too busy. I heard that you spent a lot of time flying around different countries this year. Although Emily Blunt is also filming and busy, she still has a lot of time to rest. Simon squeezed Emily Blunt's waist and sighed. Hey, how can you compare with your stars? Your movie salary is millions of dollars in income. How many movies can you make a year? Come on, the stars come to the money quickly. It's not in vain that so many people around the world yearn for the entertainment industry. Hollywood joins countless beautiful men and women every day. Emily Blunt said helplessly, unable to laugh or cry. Mr. Parker, I'm just a young actor, and I'm all about making movies with your help. The Devil Wears Prada, Sunshine Cleaning, Child Abuse Suspect. 2 of the 3 films are from Xing, and the other one is helped by Simon. Although they are all supporting actresses, of the 3 films, one is a commercial film with high reputation and box office, and the other 2 are award-winning literary films with good reputation. Emily Blunt is now a little famous. After all, it's not long since she debuted. Okay, let's stop talking about that. Let's go over there for a drink. Simon shook his head and walked towards the bar next door with Emily Blunt in his arms. In 2009, Hollywood's performance bucked the trend. Not only did the box office hit a record high, but 2 Hollywood movie studios with a long history were caught in a merger storm because of the high debt. MGM is collectively pressured by creditors to seek acquisition. General Electric, the parent company of Universal Pictures, suffered serious losses in the financial tsunami, and NBC Universal Entertainment Group is a means of returning funds. Doncaster Group, a telecom and cable operator who wants to enter the large-scale Hollywood film and television media industry, is sharpening its knives. But I didn't want to. I encountered the spoiler of the Hollywood upstart Xing Entertainment, which was born in the sky. Xing Entertainment is the perfect distribution channel and TV broadcast network for NBC Universal Pictures. In the same way, if you want to acquire NBC Universal Entertainment, you hope to go back to the old road of Summer Redstone Viacom's acquisition of Paramount with a small swallow. It has been a long time since MGM withdrew from the 7th Congress, and the 6 major Hollywood patterns have been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. The newly launched Xing Entertainment hopes to separate itself in Hollywood after just 5 years of establishment as the leader of the new faction. It directly challenges the traditional Hollywood forces. Of course, the focus of the battlefield is not Hollywood as a capital-controlled Hollywood. The capital gain behind it is the focus. Doncaster CEO Brian Roberts and Group Executive Vice President Steve Burke, who is in charge of the group's media department, feel a lot of pressure. After all, United Capital, headed by Sony Columbia, previously controlled MGM, and Doncaster was one of the 4 major investment groups. MGM's current appearance has made Doncaster's entertainment investment fail once. Chapter 333. Well, Simon Pike and Emily Blunt kissed passionately as soon as they returned to Simon's villa in Kensington Gardens. While kissing, they took off each other's coats and scarves. Their mouths did not stop, and their hands were always busy when the 2 came to the bed. Only underwear were left, and Emily Blunt pushed Simon down onto the bed afterwards. Emily Blunt straddled Simon, unbuttoned her bra, and gently tossed it to the side. "Darling, the way you look now is so likable." Simon folded his hands on his head, looking at the girl riding on him so sultry. His heart was fiery yet. Emily Blunt said, licking her lips, before sliding her entire upper body down surrounded by the moist, warm touch. Simon couldn't help but put his hands on the girl's head. After a while, he pulled the girl over and rolled over and pressed it. Maybe it was the atmosphere during Christmas, maybe it was because the two of them hadn't seen each other for a long time, and they rolled around all night at Christmas, in the Balearic Sea, a subsidiary waters of the Mediterranean Sea, off the coast of Marseilles, France. Simon's huge luxury yacht Polaris began to hold a grand Christmas party. More than 150 guests were invited on the yacht, mainly European celebrities, models from various entertainment circles, fashion circles, as well as bank investors or socialites. For example, the German director Roland Emmerich and his wife, actress Diane Kruger, and of course Simon's lover Sarah Bradna, British director Ridley Scott and his daughter Jordan Scott, Emily Blunt, and Little Pepper Kate Beckinsale, etc., Spanish beauty Penelope Cruz and her boyfriend Javier Bardem, the new generation of actress Maria Valward, and so on. The French filmmakers were even more in attendance: Luc Besson, Sophie Marceau and Eva Green, Jean Reno and more. The joyful Polaris, not far from the brilliantly lit Marseilles port, looks like a dazzling and ecstatic Polaris has a total of 5 decks and 2 helipads. The guests are staggering and laughing at this time. Simon Parker was sitting on the sofa with Eva Green and Maria Valward in his arms, talking and laughing. This feeling of hugging left and right is really good. The evaluation of crack is good, whether it is the performance of Eva Green or the performance of Spanish beauty Maria Valward. They are all excellent. 22-year-old Maria Valward, in Simon's eyes, is more interesting than Penelope Cruz, a Spanish sexy girl. "This yacht is so beautiful," Maria Valward said happily as she leaned against Simon tightly. Regardless of status, or figure and face, Simon Parker has a fatal attraction to a small actor like her. Eva Green on the other side also whispered, "It's really beautiful, more than 360 feet, so cool." The yacht docked here is the largest. Simon shook his head and did not speak. 360 feet is indeed very long, but it is still not ranked. Chelsea owner Roman Abrahamovic's Eclipse is undergoing trials at the German shipyard and will be delivered next year. That is a monster over 530 feet long, and is currently the world's #1 yacht. Moreover, the rising sun that Oracle boss Larry Ellison sold to one of the DreamWorks Big Three in the past 2 years also has more than 400 feet length these days. It will stop here, hold some banquets or something, and the scenery of the Mediterranean Sea is also good, Simon replied with a smile, leaning on the sofa. After a while, Catherine Hills came over and said a few words in Simon's ear. "You take them to the top deck first, and I'll go there right away," Simon ordered to Catherine Hills. "Okay." Catherine Hills nodded quickly and left. "Okay, girls, I have a guest I need to receive. See you later," Simon said, kissing Eva Green and Maria Valward respectively on the cheeks. Jean Bernard, CEO of France's Vivendi Universal Group, and Jean Reno Fordo, chairman of Vivendi Entertainment, came together. "Merry Christmas." Simon came to the top deck to greet Jean Reno Fordo and Jean Bernard cordially. "Merry Christmas, what a nice yacht," said Jean Reno Fordo with a smile. As the current chairman of Vivendi Entertainment, he is mainly in charge of the two main businesses of Universal Music Group and Activision Blizzard. Jean Reno Fordo spends most of his time in the United States, but at present, General Electric has the intention of selling NBC Universal Entertainment Group, and Vivendi, which holds 20% of NBC Universal's shares, is of course also an important factor. Doncaster and Xinghe are currently the most important contenders, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. "Simon, we've met with Doncaster and GE before, and GE meant to buy back that 20% before selling NBC Universal," Jean Bernard said. "Then just look at Simon. You agreed?" Simon asked expressionlessly. Jean Bernard nodded. Although he was a little embarrassed, as a businessman, business is king. Vivendi chose to side with GE to maximize the benefits. Simon's eyes were a little cold, and he took a sip of the red wine in the glass. "Look at the crowd on the deck below. Will GE offer a price of $5.8 billion? GE is still thinking of letting the acquirer bid. Does Doncaster have the courage to do so? Everyone knows how well the important asset Universal Pictures is doing now. Does Doncaster understand movies? Can it be compared with Xinghe Entertainment in film and television production and distribution?" Simon, These are the meanings of the group's shareholders, Jean Reno Forto explained. Universal Music Group is currently in a bad situation, and the music recording business is in the doldrums. As the largest market for traditional records, Universal Music Group is now profitable. Not very high. The development of online music is rapid, and the Swedish music streaming company Shengfei, invested by Star Records, is developing very well. It has already raised 2 rounds of financing 2 years after its establishment. Xingjian Records owns more than 25% of the shares of Shengfei, and the expansion of Xingjian Records is also very fast, and the sales of Singer Records inside are also excellent. Jean Reno Forto is also currently paying attention to Shengfei Company, and will also participate in the C round of financing, and Shengfei Company is also considering forming partnerships with major music groups, including Sony Music, Warner Records and so on. Jean Reno Forto and Jean Bernard stayed for about half an hour before leaving, indeed only to tell Simon the news. Vivendi's 20% stake in NBC Universal will only be repurchased by General Electric. Doncaster, General Electric. Vivendi Universal, he. Simon looked at the sky, waved the wine glass in his hand and threw it into the vast Mediterranean Sea. Chapter 334 The Principality of Monaco. After sending away Jean Reno Forto and Jean Bernard, Simon also regained his mood and Christmas could not be affected. In the lobby on the 3rd floor, Ridley Scott was chatting with actress Cate Blanchett when Simon came over. "You too, I heard that Robin Hood is the opening film of the Cannes Film Festival next year?" Simon laughed. "Well, the schedule is May 14th, the world premiere in Cannes," Ridley Scott responded with a smile. "Merry Christmas, Simon." Cate Blanchett responded. Robin Hood is a cold weapon epic war blockbuster jointly produced by Universal Pictures and Relativity Entertainment with a production cost of $200 million. Universal Pictures has made great efforts, and Ridley Scott's love for epic blockbusters is also unusual. Co-starring Russell Crowe and Cate Blanchett, Simon never had much thought for a war movie in recent years. All epic war films, except for The Gladiator that year, have basically failed and lost money. Troy, King Arthur, Kingdom of Heaven, Alexander the Great and even modern war films such as Pearl Harbor and Black Hawk Down are also losing money. Good word of mouth is useless, and the box office is not high, and the directors of Gladiator, Black Hawk Down and Robin Hood are all Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott is indeed a famous director, and the film he directed is indeed very majestic. The first part of Alien was also directed by this great director. By the way, I recently heard that 20th Century Fox has plans to shoot the 5th Alien, and the director is Mr. Scott? Simon asked again. After all, the Alien series is also famous. Ridley Scott smiled and quickly admitted, "I actually wanted to make a 5th Alien movie for a long time, but the script was difficult to satisfy me, and a screenwriter recently gave me one. The script was drafted, and I thought it was good, so I started to prepare the script, and there is no specific plan for when to start filming. Have fun." Simon said and left with a smile. It's not easy. Xinghai Entertainment has only been established for 5 years, and it can actually acquire a behemoth like NBC Universal. Ridley Scott sighed with some sigh. Cate Blanchett watched Simon's back disappear and disappeared, and was surprised. "Who said no? I don't understand Hollywood now." Subsequently, Simon met Nicole Kidman again. Weakness has landed in Europe, and Nicole Kidman, the heroine, is also promoting in Europe. This Weakness is very good. The audience for humanities films in Europe seems to be deeper than that in the United States. Nicole Kidman is very excited at the moment. The box office and word of mouth of Weakness are high, which proves that but Kidman still has his own appeal. Europe already has a good market for literary films. Hollywood is the representative of commercialization. The main market for most literary films is originally Europe, Simon said with a pouted lip. No wonder many people say that Americans without tradition, the temperament of the nouveau riche, cannot be concealed anyway. Thank you this time. No matter what, Nicole Kidman finally felt more at ease now. Well, actually. Just as Simon was about to continue what he said, someone reminded Prince Albert II of the Principality of Monaco and Princess Charon Woodstock to visit Disc. "Nicole, come with me to meet the prince and his wife." Simon smiled. The royal family of the Prince of Monaco has an unclear relationship with Hollywood anyway. What's more, Nicole Kidman has played Grace Kelly, the mother of the head of state. Just right, Nicole Kidman nodded. For many members of the royal family in Europe, Nicole Kidman has also participated in many banquets with them as an Oscar actress. "Welcome, Merry Christmas, His Excellency the Prince, Princess." As the head of the Principality of Monaco, you can't call the president or the king, it's the prince anyway. It is also a constitutional monarchy, and the Grimaldi royal family is also the symbol of Monaco. Merry Christmas. Albert II and his wife Charon Wittstock also greeted them with a smile. This yacht is really beautiful, like a work of art, beautiful. The princess was full of praise. Mrs. Charon Wittstock is several years younger than Nicole Kidman, a swimmer from the Republic of South Africa, known as the South African Mermaid, and has a good image. Prince, it's not easy to hear that you have been in Antarctica for half a month this year. Simon and the Prince of Monaco started chatting, and of course the princess chatted with Nicole Kidman. It is also because of environmental issues that Antarctica is a pure land. The Prince of Monaco also made a documentary about his half-month experience in South Africa this year, 2009. Antarctica, a continent in chaos. Simon nodded with a smile, a city-state that relies on gambling, finance, and tourism, and its per capita GDP currently ranks first in the world. Mr. Pike, I know that Nine Heads Capital is famous on Wall Street, but what do you think about the current European economy? Albert II's Principality of Monaco is the second smallest country in the world, second only to the Vatican after the financial tsunami. Gambling, entertainment, financial services, and real estate have all been hit hard. Although Monaco is only 2 square kilometers in size, the pillar industries are still very hard to bear. Simon smiled and said, His Excellency, just call me Simon. European economy? Now that the global economy is integrated and the economies of all countries have recovered, the particularity of Monaco, the gaming industry and financial services are believed to recover soon. I am not only a hedge fund, but I am also very optimistic about the gambling and entertainment business. I have certain investments in several gaming stocks in Las Vegas. Really. Albert II owns a lot of shares in the Monaco casino. Simon, as a well-known investor on Wall Street, is credible to say this. After all, economic recovery is a fact. Simon shook his head secretly. The Prince of Monaco is really, but Monaco is indeed a place where the rich live, and the advantage of low taxes is too great. However, although Simon owns the 3 major gaming companies of Sands, MGM, and Wynn, unfortunately, Simon will not tell him that Simon mainly owns the shares of Sands China, Wynn Macau and China MGM. Simon is optimistic about their development in Macau. As for Las Vegas, Simon can only laugh, and Macau has already surpassed Las Vegas to become the largest gambling city during the financial tsunami. The stocks of various gaming companies are like waste paper, all falling by more than 90%. Not copying the bottom is a fool. Simon, be sure to visit Monaco when you have time. Monte Carlo Casino will make you forget your troubles. Albert II laughed. Chapter 335. As the largest port in France, Marseille is also the 3rd largest city in France. It not only has beautiful scenery and pleasant climate, but also has a developed economy. As the 3rd largest metropolitan area in France, the 2,500-year-old city of Marseille certainly has many attractions worth visiting. Simon held a Christmas yacht party for several days in the port of Marseille, and it was also a party to welcome the new year not far from the old port of Marseille, the fortress of St. John. As a famous attraction in Marseille, Simon, led by Eva Green, took Maria Wyward to visit the castle complex built in the 14th century. There are so many black people here. Simon was completely uninterested in this kind of castle with no bright spots and beauty, and there were almost all black people in the city. Black, French black is a lot. Marseille has 14 people of North African descent, mainly Algerians and TNS people. Eva Green explained with a smile. There are a lot of them in Paris. Maria Valward also interjected. After all, as a Spanish movie star, she still knows a lot about a bordering France. Go back, Simon said, and put his arms around the 2 European female stars who were going to go back to the St. John's Castle Hotel. In a large suite of the hotel, there are 3 guest rooms, a living room, a study, a conference room, etc. The layout is complete. Although there are 3 rooms, it is mainly Eva Green and Maria Wyward who have 1 room each. But Simon always sleeps with the 2 of them these days, or casually enters a girl's room to rest at night. For Eva Green, Maria Wyward is equivalent to Simon's new love. With competitors, it is necessary to be more active. After all, I don't know when. Simon is not interested anymore, isn't it? In the evening, the 3 of them took a bath together in the large bath of the hotel bathroom. After all, the temperature outside Marseille in winter is a bit low. The hot water in the bathtub made Simon feel extremely comfortable, and he said, "It's almost done. It's time to return to China, back to America." Maria Wyward seemed very reluctant. After all, she saw many big names in the European entertainment industry at the yacht party these days. Simon nodded, and with the euro depreciating against the dollar, The plan to raise money from Europe could also come to an end. After all, Europe, which has just experienced a financial tsunami, also needs capital to recover itself. The French movie Untouchable, invested by Venus Pictures, seems to be released in the summer, remember? Eva Green came to Simon and asked, I know, based on the personal biography Second Breath, it should have a good box office in France. Of course Simon knew, after all, he personally participated in it, and many things were also handed over to Sophie Marceau to coordinate. The summer release has been set. Simon stayed in Marseille for more than 10 days before leaving to return to Los Angeles. The Polaris was also parked in the port of Marseille as a yacht for a future vacation in the Mediterranean. After all, doesn't Simon himself have a yacht in Miami? Throughout 2009, it was not bad for Hollywood, and the total box office of North American films broke through the grand view of $10 billion, an increase of 10% compared with $9 billion in 2008. This is also the first time that Hollywood's North American box office has surpassed the $10 billion mark. The previous highest was $9.6 billion in 2007. Xinghai Pictures' market in 2009 was extremely strong. After perfecting the channels of Pinnacle Entertainment, the number of more than 10 movies surpassed the 5 major film companies in one fell swoop. With the second North American market share, it is second only to Warner Brothers, which ranks first, and even Paramount can only rank third. The year-end results of Xinghai Entertainment not only surprised myself, but also made the whole Hollywood exclaim, Hollywood, the Big Seven is back. The Hollywood Observer: the emergence of Xinghai Entertainment has perfectly replaced the dying MGM, and Hollywood has revived the golden age. The San Francisco Chronicle: Simon Pike, Hollywood's new crown recipient. The Los Angeles Times: it is not only the traditional 6 major Hollywood studios who are shocked, but also new investment companies such as Relativity Entertainment, Legendary Pictures, or independent studios, Weinstein Pictures, Lionsgate, etc. It is even more surprising Harvey Weinstein, who has experienced complaints and disputes from female filmmakers for more than half a year, is now even worse. The Weinstein films originally had a $500 million line of credit from Goldman Sachs funds, but the scandal broke out due to co-founder Harvey Weinstein. Investors are pessimistic about Weinstein Pictures' prospects, and at the same time, because of the conflict between Harvey Weinstein and Simon Pike, now the Weinstein films is not as good as it used to be, and the leader of the company has become Bob Weinstein. And Bob Weinstein was very angry with his lustful brother Harvey Weinstein, and focused on Demon Pictures, mainly investing in B-level films. And making money is the first purpose, you stupid pig. 9 has been released for a month and a half, and the North American box office is only $15 million. How much is the investment? $90 million. Musical films have long been out of market. If you don't listen, find a group of female stars. Another one? In the office of Weinstein Pictures, Bob Weinstein almost shouted, Rob Marshall's musical, directed by Daniel Day-Lewis, Marion Cotillard, Penelope Cruz, Judi Dench, Kate Hudson and other Oscar winners. When you still invited Nicole Kidman to make a cameo, do they care about you? Now that Nicole Kidman has Simon Pike as a backer, do you know the box office and reputation of weakness? Bob Weinstein's attitude towards money is very profound, and Harvey Weinstein used the movie to play with female stars, leading to the current situation, which is very passive. Weinstein Pictures has lost so much to the Harvey Weinstein scandal that many investors and filmmakers have drawn the line. Some are not optimistic, and some do not want to offend Simon Pike. In short, the current Weinstein films cannot tolerate Harvey Weinstein, otherwise the resistance will be too great. Bob, aren't I doing some work behind the scenes right now? Harvey Weinstein also argued, and all participated in the behind-the-scenes work of the movie under a pseudonym. In fact, Harvey Weinstein's situation is much better now than in the future. First of all, feminism is not as domineering as it will be in the next 10 years. Second, this guy also has a lot of Hollywood connections as a billionaire. Jail is normal. No, now Simon wants to acquire NBC Universal, and his focus is back on Hollywood. Weinstein Pictures needs to immerse for a while, and then I will let Demon Pictures develop some works, Bob said. Weinstein didn't want to be implicated by this dead fat man anymore. He still remembers what he said to Simon in a bar in New York back then. With that, Bob Weinstein slammed the door and left. Chapter 336: Greedy People. In California, Simon came to his luxurious hilltop villa in Santa Barbara, with Martha Cosby and Laura Collins and 3 assistants. Catherine Hill Simone intended to host Warren Buffett in Santa Barbara. After all, Berkshire Hathaway is also a shareholder of GE and, in Warren Buffett's name, has a lot of weight on GE's board. Simon, I thought you were coming to meet me in Beverly Hills or the Bel Air area of Los Angeles." Warren Buffett stood with Simon on the grass outside the estate. "The view here is really nice. I bought it here before, and I often come here to live for a few days. Compared with Beverly Hills, it is much quieter here." Simon's manor has 16 acres of land, with trees and grasses. "Mr. Buffett, why don't we go into the house? The temperature is not high right now," Simon suggested. After all, Buffett is 80 now, and Santa Barbara is no better than Los Angeles, and the current temperature is less than 10 degrees Celsius. "Oh, well, I remember when I just visited there was a house with a closet in it. Why don't we go over there and talk?" Warren Buffett also suggested. Simon nodded with a smile. This manor occupies a large area, and the house with a closet is a house near the main building. Since Warren Buffett came, the two seemed to be talking about topics such as weather and scenery. The purpose of this meeting was clear to both of them, but they never got into the real theme. As the closet in the house ignited, Simon placed a few pieces of wood and watched the flames start to burn slowly. Back on the chair in front of the closet, Buffett next to him picked up a can of Diet Coke and took a sip. "Simon, you don't like Coke?" Buffett laughed. Simon shook his head. He had long heard that Buffett had a soft spot for Coke, but he never thought that he could still drink Coke. "Well, I never drink this kind of thing," Simon smiled. Berkshire Hathaway is a major shareholder of Coca-Cola. Buffett likes to drink Coke, and it seems that there is no problem. Shares of Berkshire Hathaway are now at just over $100,000 a share, with a wave of gains expected soon as the economy recovers. Simon's nine-heads capital owns more than 4,000 Berkshire Hathaway shares, nearly 2,000 of which belong to Simon personally. Now that people are old and are often inferior to you young people, who would have thought that in just 5 years you made yourself one of the 100 richest people in the world? Berkshire Hathaway said with a smile that nine-headed bird capital's work on Wall Street was truly amazing. "Mr. Buffett, at present my important business is still on the Hollywood side. Xinghai Entertainment is my foundation, and the acquisition of NBC Universal is an important part of the company. I believe that under my leadership, Universal will soon get out of the predicament. You should trust me." Simon got into the subject. "I know that the people at Blackstone have lobbied our shareholders for a long time, and now the focus is on Doncaster. Doncaster has strong cash flow and exchangeable TV station equity, and Doncaster is also fighting for it. It is only controlling NBC Universal, and GE will still own a lot of shares in the future," Warren Buffett explained. "After all, Xinghai Entertainment does have a lot of cash flow, but if you want to acquire NBC Universal, you must borrow a lot. At that time, the group's debt will be very high." Simon smiled and said, "The acquisition of NBC Universal by Xinghai Entertainment is also for GE to get rid of this burden. Now Universal Pictures is at the bottom of the list, and it depends on the income of NBC TV. Our Xinghai Entertainment's achievements are obvious to all. In Hollywood, it is difficult to have a film company that can compete with me in the future. Our online streaming media layout is also the future direction. I am very confident. As for Doncaster, it is really big. Network operation and cable TV operation are their main business. If they want to expand with Hollywood content, not everyone can succeed." Warren Buffett understands that the two companies have their own advantages and disadvantages. From Buffett's own perspective, of course, he is optimistic about Xinghai Entertainment. After all, Buffett, who has always been good at long-term investment, can see the development prospects of Xinghai Entertainment. What Warren Buffett struggles with is that Simon Pike has given up too little interest, and that the proportion of NBC Universal's equity replaced by Xinghai Entertainment's equity is too low. Coupled with cash and the high valuation of Xinghai Entertainment, shareholders have too little shares in the new company in the future. "Simon, tell me about your bottom line. No matter what the future is, you must be the one who decides. I still have a certain amount of energy in the General Electric shareholders meeting, but you also need to give up enough benefits to impress them," Warren said. Buffett frowned. "A bottom line? In the future, I need to have absolute control in the new Xinghai Entertainment. The market value of NBC Universal can be calculated at $30 billion US. I can raise $15 billion US in cash, and the rest can be exchanged for equity." Simon said seriously, "I need you to promise to go public within a year of the acquisition." Warren Buffett added. Simon looked at Warren Buffett, thought about it, and said, "If I successfully acquire NBC Universal in the middle of this year, I can guarantee that it will go public by the end of next year, and I want the full NBC Universal property." In the evening, Simon sent away Warren Buffett and his party. In order to persuade Buffett, he also gave up the preemptive right of Xinghe stock in the future of $700 million to Berkshire Hathaway Greed. Simon said after watching Warren Buffett leverage, "Can Mr. Buffett guarantee our acquisition will be successful?" asked Martha Cosby. "If Doncaster offers better conditions, he will immediately abandon us and inform the team at Blackstone to speed up the pace of acquisitions. I will raise $15 billion in cash flow in May." The equity replacement ratio can be given to 2.75:1, and at the same time, Nancy is notified that all short positions in the euro will be cleared after April. Simon is also a rich and not afraid of things. If NBC Universal does not agree by then don't blame yourself for knocking them all down. In April, will the euro be at its lowest against the dollar by then? Martha Cosby wondered. It's almost there. It's enough time to drop to the 0 point in a few months. Whether it's the lowest is not so important. In short, it's time to pull out the funds for acquisition. Simon shook his head, remembering that it was April or May anyway. Notify them that we'll be back in Los Angeles tomorrow morning. Chapter 337 Cash is King. At the beginning of 2010, the most popular was the popular release of Avatar, which has been at the top of the weekly list since the second week of its release. In particular, IMAX theaters are basically full, and the stock price of IMAX is rising steadily. IMAX has tried to lobby companies to develop 3D movies and set up IMAX theaters with little success because of the high price. Now, not only because of the pioneering work of Avatar, many chain theaters have found business opportunities, but also because of IMAX Corporation's research to reduce the construction cost of 3D theaters. The breakthrough of 3D cinema has also accelerated. The annual American Film and Television Golden Globe Awards were held at the Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles on the 1.18. The anti-war film The Hurt Locker, released last year, swept the awards of every European film festival almost all the way. For the United States, it is also recognized by leftist politics, and it is also a strong contender for the Best Picture Oscar this year. However, the Golden Globe Awards, initiated by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, sang the opposite, awarding the Best Film and Best Director of the Golden Globe Awards to Avatar, which is currently popular all over the world. In fact, when it comes to movie awards, whether it's the 3 European awards or the Oscars, major Hollywood filmmakers don't care much. What really cares is the people involved in the film and those independent film production companies. After all, this award will help the film release to increase its popularity and influence the commercial blockbusters of major Hollywood studios. Have a large enough budget for promotion, and commercial blockbusters are mainly special effects, and they are not welcomed by some movie awards. Xinghe Entertainment currently leads several blockbusters every year, and these are the key films released every year. Those dominated by Marvel Pictures, of course, are based on special effects. The release of Iron Man and Thor has given the Avengers universe dominated by Marvel Pictures a firm direction. There are 2 more releases this year, Iron Man 2 and Captain America, the Avengers 2 Marvel movies. There is also the fantasy love idol Twilight 2, which was popular last year, and the anti-hero special effects blockbuster National Superman. Hancock as the booth of Xinghe Entertainment is also getting bigger and bigger. Dick Cook, who stepped down from Disney last year, also became the chief operating officer of Xinghe Entertainment Group from the chairman of Xinghe International Films to assist the president Nina Jacobson to manage the company. The chairman of Xinghe International Pictures was taken over by the original Christine Birch. After all, when Birch joined the company in the early days, Xinghe Pictures had just developed and established a distribution channel with the experience and resources of Dick Cook and the support of the company. The overseas distribution channel is now on track for Kristen Birch to manage. Dick Cook's years of management experience at Disney can better help Nina Jacobson manage Xinghe Entertainment Group. Nina Jacobson and Dick Cook are in Simon's office at Xinghe headquarters in Burbank, Los Angeles. BNP Paribas does have some confidence in us, but the amount of funds and requirements they can provide is not what I expected. Simon leaned on the sofa, very casual. 200 million euros, converted, it is now about $260 million. I still don't like it. Well, the euro has been falling against the dollar right now, and maybe it will be lower in a while, and it may be harder to raise money from Europe in the future, said Dick Cook, who knows that the company is raising money for the acquisition of NBC Universal, and has recently. Few European banks have been contacted because exchange rate issues are somewhat hindered. Don't worry, Simon waved his hand and asked again, the company's current cash flow should be quite a bit, and some of the overseas funds have been transferred back before, plus the issued bonds. Xinghe Entertainment estimates that it can spend $4 or $5 on its own $1 billion in funding. Nina, Is there any news from Doncaster's side? NBC Group owns 24 cable channels including BC in addition to European and Spanish channels. As the largest cable TV operator in the United States, Doncaster is absolutely subject to investigation by anti-monopoly agencies in this regard. Doncaster has cooperated with Time Cable Group for 2 years, and users are very worried that this will cause cable TV prices to rise, and the resistance is not small, Nina Jacobson quickly explained. Time Warner's subsidiary Times Cable is the second largest cable operator in the United States in recent years. Doncaster has not stopped the pace of mergers and acquisitions, and there is not so much liquidity. Doncaster's acquisition of NBC Universal also means holding, and it will jointly form a new company with GE Group to inject NBC Universal into among them. In addition to providing some funds, it is likely that some assets will be injected into the new company in exchange for a controlling stake. Simon nodded and said, General Electric has already gotten rid of the burden of NBC Universal. Their main business is the development of equipment industry, aero engines, finance, etc., and the media is not the focus. Given GE's current high level of debt, it needs a lot of cash in an era when cash is king. Simon previously said that he could provide $15 billion, which is still somewhat difficult after all. Xinghai Entertainment itself needs a lot of cash to develop, and Ninehead Bird Capital also needs a lot of cash. It is inappropriate to invest too much into Xinghai Entertainment. By the way, MGM rejected the $2 billion purchase price, and their creditors are absolutely too low. Nina Jacobson said immediately. Simon nodded. Didn't you know this early on? Never mind, wait until they go bankrupt. Let's reorganize. Simon has no intention of managing the dying MGM. It is estimated that it will not be long before the bankruptcy process will be initiated like the original Time and Space, and then Telescope Pictures will enter the merger in the process of debt-to-equity swap. MGM's 95% of the shares become creditors, and Telescope Pictures owns 5% of the shares for management after Nina Jacobson and Dick Cook left. Simon wondered how to raise money. Nineheaded Bird Capital is now fully short in the euro, and it will not be possible to put all the funds into it at that time. After all, both Nineheads Capital and Phoenix Fund now hold a large number of high-quality stocks. Moreover, investing in new companies and technology ventures also requires cash. It is indeed difficult to swallow big with small things. In the future, when Xinghai Entertainment goes public, Simon will not be short of money anymore. I can make a fortune this time with a $2 or $3 billion in my hands. But I really don't want to invest all of it after all. Simon also needs to continue to develop Jiutao Sports, or some other technology companies that defy the sky. Looks like we'll have to see if Nancy and Adam can raise some more money on Wall Street and in Asia, Simon muttered. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338, Abandoned by the Times. Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, inside the SLS 5-star hotel, a unique dance is being held after the Golden Globe Awards. The Oscar party is about to be held, and filmmakers not only work hard to promote their films, but also want to use the Oscar spring breeze to promote their films. The films District 9, The Hurt Locker and Weakness released by Xinghai Pictures are all shortlisted for Oscar Performance Awards. Ashley Brax, president of Star Ocean, is reporting with Simon. This year, there are no projects for the studio, but a French movie Untouchable and Nicole Kidman's Rabbit Hole are currently being released. Woolen Cloth. Last year, there were more films released, and the channels were perfected, and the cost was relatively high. In addition, the development projects did not pay much attention to the art film market. This year, it is estimated that more attention should be paid to those domestic and foreign film festivals, Simon also said. Nodding in response. At present, 2 projects have been confirmed. One is the R-rated comedy film Bad Teacher starring Cameron Diaz, and the other is the literary film Double-Faced Martha about a cult girl, both of which are low-cost. A movie, Bad Teacher, has Cameron Diaz in the lead. The box office is promising, and the movie budget is only $20 million. Ashley Brax stroked his hair again, and continued, tomorrow I'll fly to Park City, go to see the St. Denis Festival. There may be some surprises. Simon nodded. If Bad Teacher starred Cameron Diaz, and it was an R-rated comedy, the actors must have split the bill. As for Double-Sided Martha, Simon doesn't know, but Ashley Brax is optimistic. At least it's a low-budget movie aimed at winning awards, not only the St. Denis Film Festival, the Toronto Film Festival abroad, the Montreal Film Festival or the Tribeca Film Festival in New York, etc. All need attention this year. You can pay more attention. Simon Jean Ashley Brax. The management of Venus Pictures is of course to trust her vision, right? Venus Pictures can decide the budget of the movie itself cannot exceed $25 million, otherwise it will be reported as for Aurora Pictures. The budget card is less than $15 million. After all, the cost of B-level films is really low. Really optimistic projects, if the budget is not enough, it is possible to cooperate with the parent company Xinghe Pictures. By the way, is the filming of Smart, Ghost Recording 2 finished? Simon asked. Although Smart, Ghostly Recording was released in a few theaters last year, although the scale was small, after all, the DVD version was released before, and the sales are very good, and the reputation is also very good. Isn't the sequel of Smart 2, Ghost Record a certainty? It's still in production. The sequel is no longer a family studio shooter, and a new director has been found to reshoot in industrial mode. The schedule is scheduled for Halloween, 10.22. Ashley Brax is also one of the producers. It is still clear, also, the director of Smart, Ghost Record 2 was originally Kevin Grote, the director of Chainsaw 6, but Lionsgate sent a lawyer's letter, and it was still moving on to Kevin Grote directing the next Chainsaw, so we found Todd Williams to direct Anima 2. Well, Lionsgate's The Chainsaw is the 7th this year? Simon said with a smile when he heard it. Ashley Brax laughed. It's the 7th year, coming out on 10.29, and it's been scary on Halloween for 7 years in a row. Afterwards, the two went to chat with others separately. Simon, good evening. Simon met the famous Hollywood director Gary Marshall and chatted. Good evening, Simon said, taking a glass of wine from the waiter's tray. Gary Marshall, in his 70s, is a major director of Hollywood romance films. The famous Pretty Woman, Running Bride, The Princess Diaries series, and Modern Love Story are all from him. The Valentine's Day, that will be released early next month, seems to be very powerful. Valentine's Day has a lot of stars: Julia Roberts, Anne Hathaway, Bradley Cooper, Ashton Kutcher, Taylor Swift, Jessica Alba, Taylor Lautner, Jennifer Garner and Eric Dean, Jamie Foxx, Patrick Dempsey, Topher Grace, Emma Roberts and more than a dozen others. Simon and Gary Marshall touched wine glasses and smiled slightly. Simon, if you are willing to participate in the movie, I really hope you can make a cameo in the movie. Gary Marshall also took a sip of wine and laughed. After all, I like to shoot romantic dramas with handsome guys and beauties. You are Prince Charming in every way, haha. Simon shook his head and responded with a smile. How can I act in movies? I can only write scripts. Romance is dead after the madness of Meg Ryan and Julia Roberts in the 80s and 90s. Anne Hathaway is also not a successor, and the heroine of a romantic film after Julia Roberts should be Drew Barrymore. However, it is now 2010. Romance films have long been a niche film, and the madness of Pretty Woman is gone forever. Hey, Hollywood belongs to you young people after all. We old guys really can't keep up, Gary Marshall said with a helpless smile. After all, it's not very good to have made several similar movies in a row. Valentine's Day also sought investment from Xinghe Pictures at that time, but it was rejected. At least the budget was not that high. Gary Marshall basically drew this from his connections. There are many stars, and the remuneration is not much. Simon is also helpless. Times are changing, right? He stepped forward and patted Gary Marshall on the shoulder, and said softly, Hollywood is just more commercialized now. Young people can shoot whatever they like. After that, Simon laughed. After all, Hollywood is now dominated by all kinds of special effects blockbusters, comic hero series, fantasy technology, magic myth, etc. All special effects now. Hollywood is the era of special effects blockbuster series. Original script? Fewer and fewer people are filming. At least it is also a novel adaptation. The sequel movie is the king. There are not a few series copyrights in hand, and I am embarrassed to say that I am a Hollywood blockbuster. It's time for Hollywood to abandon some filmmakers. Let's cherish the glory of the past in memory. Xinghe Pictures now has Marvel, the Twilight series, the Hangover series. It seems that it is not enough. Chapter 339: The Fish That Slipped Through the Net. Los Angeles, Beverly Hills. In Simon's bedroom, Simon got a call from Ivanka early in the morning. I'm in Los Angeles. Are you there? In Beverly Hills. When did you come? Simon looked at his watch. It was 7 o'clock. It was time to get up after a few chats. Simon got up to wash and drove to where Ivan was stuck in Inglewood. Inglewood is just across Carver City from Beverly Hills. Not too far. Simon drives his new toy, the Aston Martin 177 sky blue sports car that just went on sale last year. Receives Ivanka flight in from New York yesterday. Ivanka sat in the car, looked at it for a while, and said with a smile, "The car is great." "Well, it's okay. It didn't take long to get started, and it didn't take a few days to arrive," Simon said lightly. After all, there seem to be 77 cars, and the price is more than £1 million. It is this sky blue, although Simon thinks it is good, but this is also the color of a coquettish bag. Come to Los Angeles for a vacation? Simon asked while driving. "I have nothing to do recently, and I really want to go out for a few days." Ivanka didn't know what she was thinking. It was obvious that she was going to ski in Utah before, or she came to Los Angeles. Utah and California are separated by the state of Nevada. Los Angeles is not bad, much better than cold New York, and the Oscars are going to be held next month, and there will be some cocktail parties. Simon didn't know if she was thinking what she meant. You can meet quite a few celebrities and chat with them. Many rich children and celebrities become friends or something, and it is also vanity to get more exposure and popularity. Ivanka herself is also a model and is familiar with it. "Got it, but I wanted to go skiing over there in Utah," Ivanka said. "Anyway, skiing, Utah?" Simon thought for a while, then said in surprise, "That should be over there in Park City, which has the most and the best ski trails. Are you familiar? Parker City holds the St. Denis Film Festival every year." "I've been there before, yes, it's the day of the film festival." Simon thought for a moment and then continued, "Want to? I'd like to stop by the St. Denis Film Festival in Park City, too. Ashley Brack seems to have rushed over today, and I don't know if I will find any good projects this year. Are you going to?" "Okay, when will you leave?" Ivanka had an idea, and since Simon also went, it would be better tomorrow. "I'll make arrangements," said the car, and drove into the gate of the mansion of Simon. Beverly Hills. On the same day, Simon accompanied Ivanka to Los Angeles and other places, and then flew to Salt Lake City International Airport in Utah by private jet the next day. Salt Lake City is the largest city and the capital of Utah. Salt Lake City International Airport is only half an hour's drive from Park City, and there are many ski resorts around. Lushan Ski Resort is regarded as one of the top ski resorts in Park City. Not to mention the various service facilities of the ski trails are also 5-star. When playing at Lushan Ski Resort, Simon did not forget to go to the venue of the St. Denis Film Festival to watch this place. "I was there a few years ago, for a promotion for a TV movie," Ivanka said to Simon at the St. Denis Film Festival venue. "Well, a lot of new directors have been discovered here, and a lot of movies are being traded here," Simon said, glancing at movie posters everywhere. "I don't know much about movies, but most of the people in Utah believe in Mormonism." There were a lot of people at the film festival, and Ivanka also chatted with Simon. "One by one Mormons, I know. I'm interested in their teaching of polygamy," Simon said, laughing. "Hey, the U.S. Constitution doesn't allow it." "You really?" Ivanka shook her head disdainfully. "Simon, you have a lot of scandals on the entertainment page, and the relationship between men and women in the entertainment industry is really messy." "You can't," Ivanka said, but found that Simon did not respond. But when she looked back, she found that Simon was staring at a poster not far away. On the poster, a man appears to be in an enclosed space, holding a lit lighter. "What's wrong?" Ivanka asked. "Oh, nothing. This movie, it feels a little interesting." Simon really found a good movie. "Isn't this the personal movie Buried Alive starring Ryan Reynolds? This actor is the hero of your company's movie Fake Marriage last year." Ivanka seemed to recognize. "Yes, it's him. He recently took over the blockbuster Green Lantern from Warner Brothers." Simon certainly knows him, and he is also the Deadpool and Wolverine. Moreover, the husband of Scarlett Johansson, who played Black Widow in Iron Man 2, is not also him. Buried alive to buy? He took out his phone and called Ashley Brax directly. "Ashley, there is a one-man movie Buried Alive at the St. Denis Film Festival. It feels good." "Oh, I know, a small-budget movie from a Spanish director, and now Lionsgate, Weinstein Pictures, IFC Pictures, Fox Searchlight, etc. are all competing," the film said. Ashley Brax is very clear in the words. The budget for Buried Alive is almost $3 million. Now there are many competitors. If you want to win the North American copyright, it is estimated that it will cost more than $2 million. Well, yes, Buried Alive won't be too high at the box office, but the movie is good, it's still profitable, and it's also very moving in terms of art. Simon certainly supports Ashley Brax after winning the copyright. Although the box office of this kind of film was not too high, Simon remembered that Buried Alive had a box office of $30 million. Okay, got it. Ashley Brax's backing gives him confidence, and this kind of film is what these independent film labels are interested in. The competitiveness of Xinghai Kaixing Pictures depends on the financial support behind it. After all, there are so many literary and artistic films every year, how many can make money? After Simon hung up the phone, he excitedly dragged Ivanka to continue shopping. Maybe there will be other fish that slip through the net. You don't forget to work when you go on vacation. It's no wonder that you are now an idol of young Americans. You have excellent workability and accurate investment vision, and you can't do without your efforts, Ivanka said. Haha, well, it's getting late. Let's go back to the hotel first, come over for another day tomorrow, and then go back to Los Angeles. Although there are 11 days for the St. Denis Film Festival, Simon will definitely not wait until the closing ceremony. Chapter 340. After returning to Los Angeles from Park City, Simon and Ivanka stayed at the seaside villa in Malibu. Compared with Beverly Hills, the seclusion of Malibu can make Simon more relaxed. After all, only about 12,000 residents of Malibu now live here, and the villas on the beach in Malibu are impeccable in terms of privacy and comfort. In the viewing room, Simon and Ivanka were admiring the endless Pacific Ocean, and by the way, they also talked about the current real estate project. The 3 private holiday islands have received a lot of guests, and they seem to be good. The facilities on the islands are also continuing to improve. Your Door Golf International Resort in Miami seems to have been renovated. Don't you plan to visit? Ivanka said it's enough to have someone special to deal with it. Now the Wells Fargo Center Stadium, home of the Miami Dolphins, is being renovated. It is estimated that it will be completed in the second half of the year. I guess I will stay there for a while. As for the Door Golf International Resort, it's also a business, and you don't need to watch it yourself. Okay, there is also New York. The Center Gymnasium and Xinghai Building are almost completed. You don't seem to be paying too much attention. Ivanka reminded again. I know this. The Xinghai Building is currently being renovated, and the Center Gymnasium is expected to be later, but the team can move from New Jersey next season. Although Simon has a lot of things to do, he still pays attention to such major events. Ivanka nodded. It is good to do business with Simon. This time he invested some funds and shorted the euro, which was completely right on Wall Street. Are there any good investment projects? Ivanka now finds that it is indeed much faster to get money from finance. Now all the funds are in foreign exchange, there is no money for new projects, but now that the economy is recovering, the investment in high-end real estate is still good. Your family is also engaged in this business. You can invest in high-end villas. Consider. As for apartment buildings, I have no interest. The return on investment in the U.S. real estate market is not high, but the interest rate of banks is low now. As long as you can get the government's tax reduction and subsidy policy, it is not bad. High-end villas and mansions are at least assets with fixed appreciation, and it is enough to make money in this area. With the shameless character of the Chuanpu family, don't get too close to yourself. Some investments can be brought with Ivanka. Anyway, they have communicated in depth many times. Well, anyway, your mind is now on film entertainment. We don't understand the situation in Hollywood. Some variety shows and talk shows can't be compared with movies. Ivanka actually has some intersections with the entertainment industry. Yes, after all, I've been on many variety shows. Speaking, Ivanka stood up, dressed in a professional hip skirt, showing her sexy figure. Send me to the airport. I have to go back to New York. Ivanka is now the vice president of Chuanpu Group, and there are many things. Simon got up and put his arms around the girl's waist, then patted the girl's butt, and said with a smile, "How many more days to play?" Ivanka rolled her eyes at Simon, and said a little tangled, "I can't bear it." After dropping Ivanka to lax, Simon drove straight to the company in Marvel Studios. There are 2 blockbuster plans this year, Thor 2 and Avengers. Especially Avengers, with a production budget of up to $200 million as the top priority of next year's summer season. Meanwhile, the creators of Thor 2 are also discussing the film project in the offices of Marvel Studios. With the experience of the first part, the second part is operating according to the plan, and it can be regarded as a familiar road. In Simon's own office, he was looking at the list of main actors in the Avengers. Jeremy Renner, who is well known for The Hurt Locker, is also a candidate for Hawkeye, but it seems that the producer and director have not yet been finalized on the role of the Hulk. Edward Norton certainly wouldn't be a candidate to consider. After all, he doesn't fit in with Marvel's main idea. Joaquin Phoenix and Mark Ruffalo were the final 2 candidates. However, Simon doesn't need to worry. Anyway, the schedule is next summer. Kevin Feige has been preparing for so long. The choice of actors should be determined soon. The venue, shooting plan, post-production and publicity plan all have detailed steps, so it shouldn't be disrupted too much in the afternoon. Anne Hathaway, who had finished talking at Marvel Studios, came to Simon. "Let's finish our meal together." After Anne Hathaway came over, Simon took her directly to the Hollywood restaurant. "Thor and the Avengers have you in both movies. Are there any other projects this year?" Simon and Anne Hathaway are sitting in an upscale Italian-inspired restaurant on the Walk of Fame, the dubbing of a romantic film One Day and the cartoon Rio Adventure. "This is the plan for this year." Anne Hathaway also responded quickly. "After all, coupled with the promotion of the film to be released this year, about there I heard that Warner Brothers is preparing for the film Batman 3: The Dark Knight Rises, and the Catwoman character has invited you?" Simon asked quietly. "I don't know the specifics. Even if there is, Susan will refuse. I have a contract with Marvel, so I can't star in movies adapted by DC Marvel," Anne Hathaway said of Susan, that is her agent, Susan White. "Do you have any ideas about literary films now?" Simon asked. "Because of the actor's contract and Marvel's contract there are requirements for word of mouth, and Marvel cannot be damaged because of the actor's personal image." Anne Hathaway nodded. "The Marvel series has helped her a lot. The popularity has soared and the corresponding exposure. At the same time, there are some restrictions. Fortunately, it is a female character, not very stereotyped." However, with Traffic, Anne Hathaway still hopes to have awards, and don't think about the Marvel series winning awards. "Basically, it's all about special effects and sound effects. I can also receive a lot of literary and artistic film scripts now, but I always feel that it is a little worse, and I don't know where it is." Anne Hathaway is obsessed with Oscar. Although she has been nominated, she cannot win an award. "The Oscar winner is not so easy to get. Take your time," Simon said, looking at Anne Hathaway again, still reminded, "When you give interviews in the future, you should be more down to earth, and don't let the people think that you are far away from them. Now it is the internet, and it is very important to manage your own personality well." Anne Hathaway nodded, and Susan seemed to have reminded herself that time seemed to drift a bit recently. Chapter 341: The Benefits of Heritage. Hollywood experienced another baptism of its highest North American box office last year. As the economy continued to recover, various film studios have also launched their own film plans with great ambitions. Needless to say, Zing-Hey Pictures, the Marvel series, has already made Warner Brothers, which owns DC, feel the pressure. The bifurcation of word of mouth for Watchmen did not bring much benefit, and the Green Lantern project also started as soon as possible. At the same time, preparations for Christopher Nolan's third Batman has also begun, and will only be fully committed after the release of this year's Inception. Not only that, Sony Columbia has also planned to restart a new Spider-Man movie because of the death of the fourth Spider-Man. In order to prevent Marvel from taking back the Spider-Man copyright, of course, 20th Century Fox will not let go of the X-Men series. The success of the derivative work Wolverine must have stimulated them, and the prequel series X-Men, First Station, which continues to be developed, is also in preparation. Not only that, the reboot of the old film Rise of the Planet of the Apes is also not to be ignored, and it also bought the filming rights of the Chronicles of Narnia 3 from Disney. Paramount's previous reboots of Star Trek 11 and Indiana Jones 4 were also hugely successful, and after having eased relations with Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible 4 has also joined the plan. Not to mention the cash milk Transformers 3. Disney has Pixar's animation, and the live-action film Pirates of the Caribbean 4 has also started. Except for Johnny Depp, neither the second male lead nor the female lead has signed a contract as for Universal Pictures. Except for Fast and Furious 5, the others are taking the path of low cost. After all, NBC Universal is now deeply in the door of acquisitions, and last year's bottom results also made Universal Pictures unable to lift its head. Well, the film and television adaptation rights of The Hunger Games and A Song of Ice and Fire have been settled? Simon asked, looking at Sonia Roman, who was sitting across from him. The Hunger Games is not difficult after signing the contract. The main thing is the TV adaptation rights of A Song of Ice and Fire. George Martin managed to persuade him. He doesn't believe that novels can be adapted into TV series. Sonia Roman smiled helplessly. It took a lot of time. The script is adapted, and he will be involved in the production process and cannot be treated sloppily. Sonia Roman still reminded. Simon nodded and said with a smile, "This is Netflix's famous work. Of course, it can't be fooled. Let Nina and Dick find a good producer for development." As for the script for The Hunger Games, preparations have also begun. Sonia Roman also nodded in agreement. With the success of Twilight, The Hunger Games will certainly be taken seriously. By the way, I have met Jen Martle, the author of The Fantastic Drifting of Young Pi. The film and television adaptation rights of the novel were sold to 20th Century Fox in 2003. After all, The Fantastic Drifting of Young Pi it was very popular when it was published, Sonia Roman explained. After all, Xinghe Pictures is a new type of film company, and it can't compare with the old film studios in terms of storage IP. The old Hollywood studios have never stopped acquiring scripts. Forget it, if it's gone, it's gone. Anyway, there are a lot of producers working with us now. And some good novels will still be recommended. Simon himself only remembers some novels adapted from popular movies, most of which are. It depends on the production department for screening. Simon, don't worry too much, there are very few original scripts now, and we haven't been established for a long time. There are no remakes or reboots of old movies. Let's take your time. What Sonia Roman said is also true. At present can only spend more time in the market to collect. Of course, if Xinghe Entertainment can successfully acquire NBC Universal, it will not only enrich the film library, but also use a lot of inventory creative scripts. I heard that Thomas Tor is planning to join the two major Wall Street funds to acquire the shares owned by the investment funds of Legendary Entertainment's startup. Simon suddenly asked again. Thomas Tor is now the founder and CEO of Legendary Entertainment. There is a saying that in recent years, Legendary Entertainment has a certain reputation on Wall Street because of the 7-year and 40-film investment agreements signed with Warner Brothers, and because of its participation in the investment in Christopher Nolan's new Batman series. Now Thomas Tor guesses that she hopes to better control Legendary Entertainment and to go further in Hollywood. Sonia Roman frowned and continued, after all, now Legendary Entertainment is already working on a TV division and a digital media division. It is estimated that it was stimulated by Relativity Entertainment. After Relativity Entertainment acquired Roger Pictures, the sub-distribution system of Universal's Focus Pictures, it has a distribution network for B-level films. Moreover, Relativity Entertainment has greater ambitions. Not only the film and television department has also formed a music department, a sports department, an online media business, and it seems that they are preparing to enter the TV broadcasting business, Simon said casually, with disdain in his heart. Do you think Relativity Entertainment is your own Xinghe Entertainment? How much money has been invested in Xinghe Entertainment? How many popular movies and TV have been produced, and several top singers in the world have been discovered with the support of the behemoth Nine-Head Bird Capital, a manager who started with Wall Street hedge funds. Dare to learn from himself. Can Relativity Entertainment's Ryan Cavalog be like himself in Starcy Entertainment? Xinghe Entertainment can be said to be Simon's word, and Ryan Cavalog of Relativity Entertainment must be supervised by shareholders. Perhaps, Relativistic Entertainment relies on digital algorithms to invest in movies, and only focuses on business, and can always attract some investors, Sonia Roman also said with a smile. Too big a step requires strength. Relativity Entertainment, as an independent production company, completely abandons literary films, and it is difficult to establish cooperative relationships with some filmmakers. Simon shook his head and said, I don't care about these companies. I heard that Carl Icahn, one of the major shareholders of Lionsgate, has been lobbying for Lionsgate to acquire MGM. Is there any news? After all, the only film company I can pay attention to now is Lionsgate. After hearing this, Sonia Roman shook her head helplessly and said, I don't know. I just know that Carl Icahn has always had a controlling interest in Lionsgate. And his relationship with other shareholders of Lionsgate is not very good. The chairman of Lionsgate has personally promised that if Carl Icahn were to take a hostile takeover, Lionsgate would initiate a poison pill and issue new shares to dilute Carl Icahn's stake. MGM, Lionsgate. Simon shook his head. It's really too difficult. After all, what is the market value of Lionsgate? What MGM needs is a cash injection to keep operating. Lionsgate's debt is not low, and MGM's debt ratio is even more frightening. Lionsgate shareholders willing to put up big bucks to back a takeover? Don't say Simon doesn't believe it, even Lionsgate doesn't believe it. Chapter 342 Disney and Amp Dilemma. With the passage of time, in February 2010, the exchange rate of the euro against the dollar continued to decline. Not to mention the acquisition of NBC Universal as the sole controller of Nine-Headed Bird Capital and Xinghe Entertainment, he not only participated in a large amount of shorting the euro, but was also the mastermind behind the acquisition of NBC Universal. Every day, Simon has to face the pervasive reporters, at the door of the company, on the way home, etc. Boss, Do you want to take a trip to the small town of Saint-Tropez in France? I have already seen a large seaside villa, a building on a rock, surrounded by trees, facing the Mediterranean Sea, with an excellent view. Italian-style Mediterranean modern glass decoration style. Catherine Hills suggested that Simon didn't seem to like the reporters very much, and suggested, moreover, the Polaris has also been transferred from the port of Marseilles to the port of Saint-Tropez, and you can go to Saint-Tropez at any time to take a yacht for vacation. Simon shook his head. After spending so long in Marseilles, France during the new year, Saint-Tropez is only more than 100 kilometers away from Marseilles, just between Cannes and Marseilles. Recently, Simon has not only been busy paying attention to the acquisition plan of NBC Universal, but also paying attention to the euro shorting of Ninehead Bird Capital, and wasting time facing these reporters. Simon is a little irritable, and there will definitely be a period of running in and transition after the successful acquisition of NBC Universal. I heard that the Burj Khalifa is now the tallest building in the world. Simon seemed to have seen this news by accident a few days ago. Catherine Hills was stunned for a while. Is she going to the Middle East to relax? He quickly recalled, early last month, the Vice President of the United Arab Emirates and the ruler of Dubai personally unveiled the curtain. In order to show respect for the President of the United Arab Emirates and the ruler of Abu Dhabi, the Burj Khalifa was renamed Burj Khalifa. The Sheikh of Abu Dhabi is also the President of the United Arab Emirates with Khalifa in his name, so it is. Simon nodded slightly. Last year, the Dubai real estate crisis, the Emirate of Abu Dhabi specially injected $28 billion for the Emirate of Dubai to deal with it. Catherine Hills explained again. Oh, Dubai seems to be a place that likes high profile. The Burj Khalifa seems to be more than 820 meters high. Tisk. Simon's mouth jumped. Mizinghe building in Lower Manhattan seems to be less than 250 meters high. The title of the world's tallest building in the Shanghai World Financial Center has only been lost in 2 or 3 years. Simon also limped for a while last year, touched his nose, and continued, let's make arrangements. After 3 days, fly to Dubai to rest for a few days, and by the way, play the world's tallest building also in Burbank. At the Walt Disney Group headquarters, Chairman Robert Iger was talking with Sean Bailey, Disney's president of production. Sean, the board is going to sell Miramax, and now 7 or 8 companies have expressed interest, Robert Iger said while sitting on the sofa. A joint venture between builder Ronald Tuto and private equity firm Clooney Capital and Cutter Investments seems to have the most interest. Miramax was acquired by Disney in 1993. At that time, it spent $80 million. After a decade of rapid development, Miramax was due to the disagreement with the Weinstein brothers and the downturn of independent films. It's no longer a priority for Disney. Sean Bailey nodded. Since the resignation of Dick Cook, the chairman of Disney Pictures, a new chairman is still being selected. Now Disney Pictures is the CEO of him. Didn't the Weinstein brothers think about acquiring Miramax? Sean Bailey seemed a little uncertain. It is estimated that it is the price. Now the Weinstein Films does not have any funds, and it is not easy to find capital support. Don't worry about them. The board's valuation of Miramax is around $670 million, and the Weinstein brothers have no ability to raise funds, Robert Iger said. After all, Miramax's film style is too different from Disney's. Now Disney is considering commercial blockbusters and animated feature films, which is in line with Disneyland's strategy focusing on a series of upstream and downstream products such as resorts, stores, derivatives, etc. Independent art films are mainly based on pure film and television income, which is not in line with Disney's future route. Hey, Robert, it's a pity that Xinghe Entertainment rejected our acquisition of Marvel. Otherwise, with Pixar and Marvel, we will now have another IP treasure trove. Sean Bailey is also very helpless. On Marvel and a few commercial blockbusters developed by Disney Pictures themselves, there is no need to consider the development of small and medium-sized independent films. The Disney Pictures Group includes not only Disney Animation, which includes Pixar, but also live-action film labels Touchstone Pictures and Hollywood Pictures, as well as Miramax Pictures, which is now for sale. And now both Touchstone Pictures and Hollywood Pictures are half-closed labels, and even Miramax's number of movie releases has been greatly reduced after Robert Iger came to power. The golden age of independent film was over because of the sluggish DVD market. The success of Pixar has also made Disney pay more attention to the production of IP, missing Marvel, which has hit Disney too hard. I have submitted a proposal to the board of directors to acquire Lucasfilm. George Lucas is almost semi-retired, and Lucasfilm's most important Star Wars series has been suspended for several years. This is we piece of the puzzle. Robert Iger is now just hoping to convince George Lucas that Sean Bailey seems to be friends with Lucas. Sean Bailey smiled bitterly. George takes his Lucasfilm very seriously, and you should also understand how much meaning the Star Wars series IP represents. Not only the price, but also the future planning should convince him. Of course, the most important thing is to gain George's trust, otherwise he will not let Lucasfilm go. Robert Iger frowned and said with determination, in any case, as long as George Lucas has the slightest idea of letting go, we Disney must buy Lucasfilm. There is really no way. Disney is now supporting Pixar. Since Miramax began to lose money a few years ago, Disney Pictures has not had many successes in its own live-action movies. Now that Disney Pictures has restarted Pirates of the Caribbean 4 without IP, watching the success of Marvel's adaptation of the film, Robert Iger's thirst for IP is becoming more and more anxious. Chapter 343 Dubai Local Tyrant. Dubai, Arabian Peninsula. As a member of the United Arab Emirates, Dubai is the second largest city after the capital Abu Dhabi, but its population and economy are more developed than Abu Dhabi. Simon flew from Los Angeles to Dubai to experience the Arabian style. The Burj Khalifa was originally planned to stay, because there are still many places undergoing interior decoration. Therefore, Simon stayed at the Burj Al Arab Hotel on the artificial island in the Persian Gulf, which is the famous sailing hotel, the world's first 7-star hotel according to the media. Sunshine, beach, red wine. Simon is lounging on the beach chair under the umbrella at the moment, drinking red wine and blowing the sea breeze. Simon is facing the Persian Gulf. The northwest extension of the Arabian Sea is indeed in great conditions. The west is the Arabian Peninsula, the east is the Iranian Plateau, and the north is the Iraqi region. The Arabian Sea, which is connected to the Indian Ocean through the Strait of Hormuz, is full of oil, making the entire Arabian region live a glorious life for raising pigs. Catherine, why do you think the luck of the local tyrants in the Middle East is so good? Look at Dubai and Abu Dhabi, there is gold everywhere, Simon said lightly to the beautiful assistant Catherine Hills beside him. PFFT, boss, you already said that yesterday. Catherine Hills laughed. After all, the decoration in the sailing hotel is basically inseparable from gold, and the boss seems to despise this kind of decoration. We have received invitations from some investment funds here in the past 2 days. Do we want to attend? Catherine Hills asked again. Simon smiled, thought about it, and said, why not go? The United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, Bahrain, and even Kuwait, these are all rich countries in the Arabian Peninsula, especially in the UAE and Oman. Qatar seems to place great importance on the entertainment industry. Even if they cannot cooperate deeply, there is still a basis for cooperation in other areas. After all, the huge Saudi Arabia doesn't even have a movie theater, and people have to go to the UAE to watch movies. Tonight's reception will be hosted by Sheikh Mansour, brother of the President of the United Arab Emirates, Minister of Presidential Affairs, Deputy Prime Minister, member of the Board of Directors of the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, which manages First Overseas Bank and the Royal Wealth Fund. Catherine Shile gave a brief introduction. It turned out to be him. Simon nodded to indicate that he knew. Sheikh Mansour, the head of Abu Dhabi United Group, the big boss behind the acquisition of the Premier League Manchester City club from Thaksin. The chairman of the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority is his elder brother, the current UAE President Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, who is in charge of the management of Sheikh Mansour, who also married the daughter of the Vice President and Prime Minister of Dubai. Sheikh. Last year, Forbes magazine said that his own assets were £17 billion. Catherine Hills continued to say, Sheikh Mansour, who is just 40 years old this year, is indeed rich, and the assets of Abu Dhabi Investment Authority are more than $1 trillion. The corner of Simon's mouth twitched. In the past few years, he has been shorting on Wall Street with foresight, investing in technology stocks, and running a film company and a record company. How much are your current assets? There must be no more than £17 billion. According to media speculation, it is about $15 billion. Simon himself is not very clear. After all, the investment is too complicated, and many of the investments are also secretive, and Xinghai Entertainment and Ninehead Bird Capital are not listed companies. The assets are not easy to calculate, but according to the current market value, there is absolutely number $20 billion. Selling oil is so lucrative, Simon said, taking off his sunglasses and putting them aside, standing up and stretching. I'm off to jet ski. In the evening, Simon appeared at a business reception at the Atlantis Hotel on the artificial Palm Island in Dubai. In addition to some people wearing traditional Arabian clothes, there are more business people wearing suits and dresses. Women are basically female companions and assistants brought by guests, both men and women in Europe, America, and Southeast Asia. After meeting Sheikh Mansour, the two started chatting. It's not just us, Saudi Arabia, Qatar and other countries have been diversifying their investments. After all, there is always a day when resources are exhausted, right? Sheikh Mansour also studied in the UK before, and Simon communication is harmonious. However, the rich people on the Arabian Peninsula are basically pro-Western, spending a lot of money in Europe and the United States, and basically studying in Europe and the United States unless it is on the opposite side of Iran, which has poor relations with the West. Last year was the economic crisis caused by the global financial tsunami. Now that the economy is recovering, there are still many industries that can be invested, Simon said with a smile. After all, the capital in the Middle East is basically oil resources, and the main investment is real estate and large-scale investment. Bank 2. There is no need for a brain at all, with world-class capital blessing, and the sovereign wealth funds of the Middle East countries are also here. 9. Bird Capital seems to be investing a lot in sports now. Sheikh Mansour just acquired the Premier League Manchester City club, and he has studied 9 Bird Capital. Of course it is clear. Simon raised his glass and Sheikh Mansour touched the quilt and said with a smile, finance, entertainment, sports and technology are my main businesses, and the entertainment industry is my main business, but sports is also a big market, indeed, but I hope to have some cooperation with Zinghe Entertainment. Dubai, as a tourist city, still needs to be promoted. Sheikh Mansour is not interested in film entertainment big, because it is too difficult, and it is even more difficult for Arabs who believe in Christianity to have cultural cooperation with Christian Europe and the United States. Of course, Simon understood what Sheikh Mansour meant. Cooperation in culture and entertainment will not be forced. He hopes to help promote Dubai's reputation in the world, and what could be easier to promote urban culture than Hollywood entertainment? Well, this is simple. Dubai needs to attract Hollywood producers to come here to shoot, and the promotion of movies has always been the most powerful. As for how to attract movies to Dubai for shooting, in addition to the construction of Dubai itself, the more important thing is of course the movie support, tax rebates, official cooperation, etc. However, it seems that your fund has been interested in some large investment banks? Simon asked again. Sheikh Mansour nodded. We have investments in some banks in Western Europe and the United States. Then, last year's financial tsunami lost a lot of money, plus real estate, tisk. No wonder Dubai needs Abu Dhabi to inject capital to tide over the difficulties. Simon squinted his eyes, and it seems that in the future, capital from the Middle East can be combined into the large banking and insurance industries in the United States. Without a large bank as the capital backend, Simon would not be able to form a consortium. Doesn't the consortium rely on banks to control various industries around it? The California Consortium on the West Coast has long been rubbed against the ground by the Morgan Consortium and the Citigroup on the East Coast. Period. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Period. Chapter 346 Mission Impossible 4. Simon is of course coveted for Middle East capital, but at present Sheikh Mansour's main direction is investment in oil resources, real estate and hotels, and the rest are aviation, airports and the like. On the financial front, it appears that we will have to wait until the economy recovers. Sheikh Mansour, however, has shown no small interest in Simon's gargantuan plans for a large movie-themed resort in China. Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, Qatar Sovereign Wealth Fund, Oman Investment Authority, Sharjah Asset Management Company, Bahrain Investment Fund, etc., all have large-scale business evenings attended by high-level executives. Simon did feel how rich the wealth in the Arabian Peninsula is. Simon looked at them like he looked at the roast camel meat in the banquet hall. It's time to go to the United States. You can go to Los Angeles. You can visit Hollywood. Simon said to Qatari royal family member Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, thank you, I will definitely visit the United States when I have the opportunity. I have mainly stayed in Europe, especially the United Kingdom for the longest time, said Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, the fourth son of the current Emir of Qatar, just 30 years old this year. Simon left the Atlantis hotel in the middle of the night and let the driver go back to the sailing hotel directly. Originally, Simon came to Dubai for a holiday and was going to be quiet, although it was hard to refuse the enthusiasm of some Arab local tourists. However, Simon is not without gains. The UAE consortium is very interested in investing in real estate and hotels. In the future, it is very possible to cooperate in a movie-themed resort. After all, it has the global charm of Hollywood film and television, which is very helpful for promoting the UAE. Moreover, the Qatari consortium seems to be very interested in sports investment, but they have not yet acquired Paris Saint-Germain, and the future city football plan is estimated to have not yet occurred. Simon sat on the sofa and put down the information of various Middle East capitals in his hands. The Qatar consortium invested in more businesses than the UAE consortium. If it helps to promote the city of Dubai, it must be a global commercial blockbuster. The current commercial blockbuster of Xinghe Entertainment is mainly based on the Marvel series, which is not good. The Twilight series is not good. While knocking on the table, Simon began to think. In his memory, it seems that the Fast and Furious series and Mission Impossible series have scenes in Dubai. The benefits of acquiring Universal Pictures are actually quite numerous. The nearly 100-year history and worldwide brand effect are very valuable. Catherine, contact Laura. Where is Paramount's Mission Impossible 4 project now? Simon ordered. As a restarted series, remember that Mission Impossible 4 will already be in Dubai in the future climbing scene. Okay, Catherine Hills quickly began to call. Mission Impossible 3 failed to meet expectations, so that the years of cooperation between Paramount and Tom Cruise came to nothing. Although it has been reconciled now, Paramount's funds are not so rich at present as a producer. Tom Cruise needs to raise a lot of money to operate. After all, whether Mission Impossible 4 can be successful, no one knows. If it is not, if Simon remembers correctly, the person who helped solve the financial problem in the previous life was Larry Ellison's son, David Ellison's Skydance producer. David Ellison, who is a flight enthusiast, is Tom Kerr. Ruth's little brother. The early Tom Cruise's Top Gun was David Ellison's favorite movie. A few years ago, David Ellison's Air Combat Hero became a laughingstock, and when he invested in Mission Impossible 4, he established several film partnerships with Paramount. Therefore, after the production of Skydance, it did invest in several good films of Paramount, including the follow-up of the Mission Impossible series and the follow-up of the Star Trek series. Now, Simon believes that the crew of Mission Impossible 4 has only determined the producer, director and actor boss. The Los Angeles side said that there is not much news about Mission Impossible 4 at present, only that the director is Brad Bird. And J.J. Abrams and Tom Cruise are the producers. The lead actor is Tom Cruise, and now J.J. Abrams and Tom Cruise should still be writing the script for the film. Catherine Hills reported. Also, Paramount and Cruise are actively looking for investors to collaborate with an estimated budget of $130 million to $150 million. Brad Bird, director of Foodie and The Incredibles, and J.J. Abrams, director of Mission Impossible 3 and Star Trek 11, is capable filmmaker. Simon nodded and said, Catherine, get ready, we're going back to Los Angeles in a few days, and let Laura arrange that. I want to meet with J.J. Abrams and Tom Cruise. Speaking, Simon's mouth smiled and continued, let's just say, I have some interest in Mission Impossible 4. And Xinghe Pictures can participate. Okay, Mission Impossible 4 can be said to have the best reputation in the series, and the box office is not bad. Even if Xinghe Pictures participates, the distribution rights will definitely still be owned by Paramount. After all, the most important thing for a movie is the distribution rights. It's good that Simon himself is the boss of Xinghe Entertainment, but Simon also has the status of a gold medal producer and screenwriter. In this way, whether it is in terms of budgetary funds or in the production and promotion of the film, the addition of Simon Parker will definitely be more powerful. Join part of the capital. You can also have the rights to co-produce. Although there is no electricity, the distribution rights of the film will also benefit Paramount in terms of profits, but Simon will definitely take advantage of the opportunity to put forward the meaning of the Dubai scene in the film. The box office of the movie was a big hit. Xinghe Pictures can definitely make money with investment, and it is good to sell it in Dubai. J.J. Abrams and Tom Cruise also need to be grateful to themselves, right? After all, after next year's Mission Impossible 4 word-of-mouth double harvest, Simon Parker, one of the producers, must have a credit. As for Paramount not agreeing, it's basically impossible. Paramount really doesn't have so much money at this stage. Not to mention the previous cooperation with the King's Fund has ended. Paramount is looking for new co-fund investment partners to use other people's money to make its own films, something studios love to do. Moreover, in the previous but curious case of Benjamin Button, Simon's Xinghai Pictures also cooperated with Paramount, but Warner Brothers was involved at that time. Chapter 347 Bad Robots. On Sunset Boulevard, Los Angeles, J.J. Abrams and Tom Cruise ride in a car straight to Simon Pike's Beverly Hills villa. What do you think of Simon Pike? Tom Cruise is 4 years older than J.J. Abrams, and Tom Cruise, who is 48 years old, can be said to be J.J. Abrams' noble. After all, J.J. Abrams before Mission Impossible 3 was only in the TV circle and entered the big screen development, thanks to Tom Cruise's support. This time, the invitation from Simon Pike was somewhat unexpected. Are you interested in restarting Mission Impossible 4? J.J. Abrams thought for a while calmly, and said seriously, his vision for movies is very precise, almost unparalleled, whether it is a commercial special effects blockbuster, an independent art film or a romantic comedy film. It seems that he can find the key points in various types of films and can make fans willing to join. And if he is optimistic about Mission Impossible 4, it will also be an advantage for us, and it will be very helpful in financing anyway. Tom Cruise nodded. The low point of the past few years, Tom Cruise. There are not many movies in St. Andrews. The political thriller Lion in the Mouth and the biographical film Action Hitler did not get good popularity and box office. Only in the subversive Image cameo in Tropic Thunder caused a lot of influence. And topic Mission Impossible 4 was originally not going to play Ethan Hunter, even if it restarted itself, but finally decided to play it. This is a good opportunity to get back to the top, or continue to sink. When we meet, let's talk about it. Simon Parker's screenwriting ability is very good. Let's see if you will have some new creative points. J.J. Abrams, of course, also values Mission Impossible 4. Last year's Star Trek 11 directed by himself was successful. If this time Mission Impossible 4 led by Tom Cruise continues to be successful, wouldn't it be another addition to the qualifications? Well, the handsome Tom Cruise also nodded. It didn't take long for Simon Pike to host J.J. Abrams and Tom Cruise at his luxury estate. The host and guest sat opposite each other, and after the servants brought the red wine, the three began to chat about the style of the villa decoration, the taste of red wine, etc., and first casually chatted about some unimportant things. I believe my assistant has already told the two of them that Xinghai Pictures has sufficient cash flow and is capable of making some external film investments. Simon Parker entered the topic with a smile. Tom Cruise turned his head. As a low-level person who has not read many books, he has climbed to the current height step by step. Tom Cruise's desire for money is very strong, although I don't understand Simon's idea. After all, the distribution rights are firmly in the hands of Paramount, and Xinghai Film Investment is only involved in the co-production. It is one of the investors, so he smiled. Mr. Parker, if we certainly welcome Xinghai Film's investment, and now Paramount provides most of the funds, and we are also considering other investments. Simon smiled and said, "Call my name Simon, both of them are seniors in the industry." He then explained, the Mission Impossible series is the agent series that I am more optimistic about, and it has also proved his success in business before Mission Impossible 4, with Tom, you continue to join, has already succeeded in half. As for my investment amount, I hope to see your current script direction. J.J. Abrams and Tom Cruise looked at each other and saw joy in each other's eyes. The more Simon Pike himself involved, the greater the success of the film. J.J. Abrams quickly took out a stack of documents from his briefcase and handed it to Simon. Yes, this is the rough draft and project plan we have completed so far. After Simon took over, he began to look through it. In the movie plan, the production budget is not very high. After all, it is also an action blockbuster plus Tom Cruise's remuneration. The overall budget is about $145 million. There are also several countries where the filming takes place. It also focuses on suspense and action. The script is only a rough draft. Simon finished it after a while. The most important thing in today's movies is to attract young people. The Mission Impossible series has always been advertised as suspense and action. I think what's important now is to add some creativity to the action, Simon said while thinking. Entertainment is very important. The previous films had their own signature action stunts, and now we have to improve this aspect. Yes, Simon, I am of the same opinion now. We want to improve the dangerous action one by one. Tom Cruise was the protagonist of literary films in his early years, and he became a top star after entering the field of action. Well, since it's about the story between the United States and Russia, first of all, we can make some big scenes on Red Square in Moscow. Finally, I just played in Dubai a few days ago. The Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, is also a good prop. If it attracts attention, Tom can climb it. This part can be used as an important part of the movie. Hey, climb the Burj Khalifa. Tom Cruise, who is known for his movements, lit up his eyes when he heard it. It was more than attractive, it was simply too attractive. I think it's good, and we have discussed the possibility of dangerous action before. What do you think, Tom? Yes, the filming plan is to start in the second half of the year. We still have time to choose the shooting location, but the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, as an important scene, can be confirmed now. I have no problem, Tom Cruise said excitedly. Simon Parker nodded, then looked at J.J. Abrams, and said with a smile, in this case, after Paramount's investment, the remaining budget of Xinhai Pictures can be solved. We'll send someone to Paramount and the two to talk. I hope the cooperation will be pleasant, and maybe there will be opportunities for cooperation in the future. Happy cooperation. J.J. Abrams and Tom Cruise both stood up and shook hands with Simon, and had to go back to discuss funding with Paramount. Tom Cruise's Cruise Pictures. Simon is not very interested. After all, it mainly develops his own films, or invests in some low-budget horror films. But Simon, J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot production company, is interested. After all, J.J. Abrams is a writer, director and producer. The talent of J.J. Abrams has now proven that future cooperation is possible and what Xinhai Films needs. Chapter 348 Happy Cooperation. In 2010, 3.7 Hollywood's annual Oscar ceremony was held as scheduled, which was about 10 days later than the previous years, but it did not stop people's enthusiasm. The neighborhood of the Kodak Theater on Hollywood Boulevard is still overcrowded, and parking spaces have been extended to nearby blocks. Of course, Simon didn't have time to attend any Oscar ceremony, but it didn't affect the victory of Xinhai Pictures. The Hurt Locker defeated Avatar in one fell swoop to become the biggest winner, winning the Oscar for Best Picture and Best Director, which is a revenge for the previous Golden Globe Awards. Nicole Kidman also won her second Best Actress Oscar for her performance in Weak Points, and second after Hilary Swank. As many years after the Oscars, the Oscar dinner hosted by the well-known magazine Vanity Fair was also an eye-catching party. Many bigwigs who did not attend the Oscars were also invited to the dinner. The Sunset Tower Hotel, a 5-minute drive from the Kodak Theater, is the venue for Vanity Fair's Oscar dinner. Simon Pike, Rupert Murdoch, the tycoons belonging to the top VIPs, are of course the focus of the organizers' invitation. Simon went, of course, and attended with Kristen Stewart. Although the movie Twilight didn't get any Oscar nominations, the popularity of Twilight made Kristen Stewart also famous. Unlimited congratulations. Of course, Simon had to celebrate with the Hurt Locker crew in the ballroom. Catherine Bigelow did not forget to show reporters 2 Oscar statuettes in her hands. Simon, do you know? When Summit Entertainment was acquired by you, I was very worried that you would stop financial support for the Hurt Locker. After all, you denied most of Summit Entertainment's investment projects at that time, Catherine Bigelow said with a smile, as if he still had lingering fears. After all, this kind of anti-war movie is not aimed at the box office. With the personality of Xinhai Films pursuing business at that time, worry is not superfluous. The investment in the Hurt Locker is not a lot. It should be one of the reasons why I didn't stop investing, haha. Simon laughed. By the way, the company bought a script about the assassination of Ben some time ago. The script was created after 9.11 and has just been completed recently. I think you are quite suitable for directing this movie. I think we can continue to cooperate. Simon went to check on David Ellison after he cut off Cheyenne Wu Pictures' investment in Mission Impossible 4. It was also found that his sister, Megan Ellison, has also been investing in movies, and the two brothers and sisters also have some cooperation, such as Thunderbolt to be released this year. The director is the Coen brothers, and both brothers and sisters have invested. The difference is that David Ellison is interested in commercial blockbusters. Although The Thunder is not counted, Matt Damon is not, and Megan Ellison is very interested in independent films. Since 2006, he has invested in films, but either he has not even entered the theater, or the box office is so low that there is no water. Megan Ellison has not yet established his own film company, and the share of investment is very small, only a few million. It was too little money for her father. However, Simon does know that Megan Ellison is about to set up her own film company, and Hunting Ben is her company's famous work. Luckily, before the movie hits theaters, Ben will actually be hunted down next year. This who has to be cut, and I'm sorry if I don't cut it. Oh, it sounds a bit interesting, but I already have a project this year, called the Year of Miracles. I guess this project will have to wait a year, Catherine Bigelow said helplessly. Simon smiled and said, "It's okay, we haven't started preparations yet, take your time." Just kidding, the White House hasn't found out about Ben. In my heart, I mourn for the Ellison brothers and sisters silently. After all, the movie investment plan that the two could best come up with had already been cut off by Simon before it even started. The production budget of Mission Impossible 4 is $145 million, and Paramount invested $100 million to be responsible for the global distribution of the film. Xinhai Pictures invested $45 million to jointly produce and enjoy the global profit share of the investment ratio. Simon himself, as one of the producers, has remuneration high. Nicole Kidman came to Simon's side with a beautiful young girl winning the Oscar for Best Actress for the second time. Nicole Kidman seemed to be very excited all night, and the golden statue in her hand almost never left her hand. "Congratulations." Simon nodded. This movie weakness can be said to be a double harvest of word-of-mouth box office. The North American box office has now exceeded $250 million. Although it has not yet been offline, with a reduction of theaters, it is also worthwhile to make money every day. "Not many more, thank you. Let me introduce you. This is my daughter, Lily Collins," Nicole Kidman said suddenly with a smile. "Mr. Pike, good evening." "Well, your daughter?" Simon looked at the little girl beside her, and quickly understood. It turns out that Lily Collins, who played Nicole's daughter in the movie, Simon suddenly realized. After all, he is also a second-generation star. Her father, Phil Collins, is a famous singer. This little girl is good, and she is very talented in acting. Nicole Kidman brought Lily Collins over to meet Simon, and also wanted Simon to know this person, which was very beneficial. Simon looked again, looking at Lily Collins. She is indeed pretty, but she looks too much like a junior high school student, like a child. "How old is she?" Simon asked uncertainly. "She's not young, she's 21, she just looks young," Nicole Kidman explained with a smile. Simon also smiled. Not a year older than Kristen Stewart, but the mature taste of Kristen Stewart can be much more than this Lily Collins. This Lily Collins looks like a minor. After a few chats, Lily Collins walked away first. After all, it would be good to introduce him to Simon. "Why, don't you like this kind of girl? She's pretty." Nicole Kidman and Simon are indeed very familiar, and Simon knows some things. Simon said helplessly, "Looks like a minor, and the role is not wide. It is estimated that it will take a few years to have some experience." "And then look at it." Nicole Kidman nodded and smiled awkwardly. "I have no other intentions. If there's really a role that suits her type, you can give it a chance to audition." Nicole Kidman has been in the entertainment industry for so many years. Of course it is clear. Anyway, it depends on fate, so Simon has an impression. If you meet any role in the future, you can remember that she is her chance. Chapter 349 Clear Division of Labor. At the Vanity Fair Oscar dinner, Simon didn't stay long, chatted with some friends and left with Kristen Stewart. In contrast, Rupert Murdoch basically came out and let the reporters take a few pictures and then left with the excitement of Nicole Kidman. The gala dinners have been going on for days. Twilight 2, New Moon will be released this summer. The shooting plan for the third film should be arranged, right? In the Malibu mansion room, Simon was lying on the bed with his arms around Kristen Stewart. The breath of the two was a little weak, and it was obvious that the amount of exercise just now was a bit large. For Simon, Kristen Stewart is really a grinding goblin. "I officially joined the group in May, when the Twilight Saga, New Moon had not yet been released. Kristen Stewart could only participate in some small-budget movies. The Twilight series has made itself famous, and the rapid increase in popularity must be taken seriously," Kristen Stewart said, running her hand across Simon's abdomen, seeming to reminisce about the enjoyment just now, and continued, "The Fugitive band I participated in last year is going to be released these days, and I have also recently to cooperate with the company's publicity. Well, rest." Simon yawned as he spoke, lay down, and closed his eyes with his arms around Christine. The biggest thing in Hollywood right now is the acquisition of Universal Pictures and MGM. MGM is holding back investors because of high debt, and Universal is swinging between Doncaster and Starcia Entertainment. Steve Schwartzman, one of the heads of Blackstone Group, has been traveling between Los Angeles, New York and Boston in recent months since he received the entrustment of Xinhai Entertainment. Founded in 1985, the Blackstone Group helped Sony acquire Columbia in the early days. It is very experienced in the acquisition of large groups and is familiar with Hollywood. Steve Schwartzman and Simon have met many times, and now that the acquisition is in the final stages, the crunch has come. Simon, in terms of funding, do we need to find a way on our side? Steve Schwartzman asked. Simon shook his head and said with a smile, there is not a big problem with funding. The most important thing is the shareholders and board of directors of General Electric. Convince them. The funds raised by Xinghai Entertainment through the issuance of bonds are $5 billion, which is on the premise of leaving its own funds. Hedberg Capital can also prepare almost $10 billion through Wall Street, Europe, and the Far East, but it will only wait until end of the month. Okay, the persuasion plan for the board is coming to an end, and we're fighting for the valuation of NBC Universal Group, which is between $28 billion and $30 billion, Steve Schwartzman explained. After all, the valuation it is an important bargaining chip to compete with Doncaster for GE support. What about liabilities? Simon asked. After all, valuation can be negotiated, and NBC Universal's liabilities are also an important part. The assets and liabilities of Universal Pictures, NBC Broadcasting Group and other businesses total more than $20 billion. Steve Schwartzman has always been very cautious about this big acquisition of more than $50 billion. The huge acquisition team has almost every item of data is counted. Xinghai Entertainment provides a cash flow of $15 billion, and the rest of the equity is replaced. This is what was agreed before. What special acquisition conditions do they have? Simon asked again. As for the conditions for Buffett to go public as soon as possible, Simon has already accepted. General Electric has been asking if they can only give up the controlling stake in NBC Universal Entertainment. They still hope that Xinghai Entertainment and GE will jointly hold NBC Universal Group. Steve Schwartzman frowned. After all, if with Simon Pike at the helm of NBC Universal, they both thought it would be brilliant. Again Simon shook his head firmly and said seriously, absolutely not. GE should not be sloppy in selling NBC Universal. Xinghai Entertainment must hold NBC Universal in full. Simon's future plans are very big, and we can't waste time in various shareholders' meetings. There will also be a round of splits and reforms before listing. The absolute right to speak is very important. Got it? $15 billion in cash, when will it be available? Maybe fine. After Steve Schwartzman left, Simon slowly looked through the various properties of Universal Pictures and the NBC Broadcasting Group by himself. The NBC Television Broadcasting Group has NBC Radio Network, USA Cable Station, SYFY, Science Fiction Channel, Television Station, Entertainment TV, BC, MSNBC News Channel, American Wonderful TV, Bravo Channel, Golf Channel, etc. There are also 13 regional sports and news channels, and more than 60 international channels in addition to Universal Pictures and its affiliated film companies. Universal Group also has Universal Studios Orlando, Universal Studios Los Angeles, brand licensing of Universal Studios in Osaka and Singapore, and more than 100 joint theaters in Canada and Australia, plus on Hollywood's Universal Studios and Universal Pictures film rights and more. Riding on the popularity of the Oscars, various production companies have announced their own movie release plans to attract a wave of traffic. Perhaps it was the financial crisis last year. Although the entire film market prospered last year, there were not many major projects developed last year. Since 2010, the economic recovery has made Hollywood seem to be full of blood. Not only the major producers, the factory is full of energy, and even more independent film production companies are stepping up to develop their own projects. However, with the declining sales of DVDs, the most important part of the movie's revenue has been hit. Many small independent film companies that survived on DVDs ushered in a real cold winter in the early days. With the rise of videotapes, Hollywood ushered in the first development period. After that, with the emergence of VCD, there was a decade of golden development, and the invention of DVD made Hollywood usher in the era of blockbuster movies. Independent films have spent their golden years through VCD and DVD, and even the traditional 7 major Hollywood filmmakers have begun to pay attention to it, building independent film labels or acquiring independent film companies to make up for themselves. The development of independent films also gave birth to a large number of literary and artistic filmmakers, who came to impact commercial Hollywood again and again. Unfortunately, the profit-seeking nature of capital has always kept commercial films in the mainstream of Hollywood. With the end of DVDs, the market for independent films left by Hollywood is getting smaller and smaller. and the direction of literary filmmakers is looking to the European region that is more suitable for independent films. European capital has also become the best soil for Hollywood art films. This is the reason why Simon has been reluctant to invest more capital in Venus Films, an independent film label under Xinghe Pictures. Xinghe Pictures produces various special effects sci-fi or action commercial films. Marvel Pictures is of course responsible for the adaptation of Marvel movies. Aurora Pictures is responsible for all kinds of horror and thriller B-level films. Venus Pictures is an overseas film and literary studio. Cards are just supplements. Chapter 350 time has come. Boss, this year's Forbes list of the world's richest people has been released, and the boss is ranked 32nd with a fortune of $16 billion. While Simon was reading some political and business newspapers in the lounge of his office, Laura Collins on the side read Forbes magazine on hand, said in surprise, "Well?" Simon then turned his head and glanced over. Mexican telecom operator Carlos Slim ranked first on the list this year with $53.5 billion, Bill Gates ranked second with $53 billion, and Warren Buffett ranked third with $47 billion. "You still need to cheer up," Simon said, not paying much attention to the magazine. Forbes, as a leader in business and financial magazines, and Fortune and Bloomberg Businessweek are all convincing financial magazines the rich list is the most gimmicky news of Forbes. After all, it is currently selected every year. The Forbes magazine is a bi-monthly magazine with a bi-weekly issue. Boss, it's amazing, except for Sergey Brin and Larry Page who are in front of the boss who are under 40, there is no under 50 in the top 50. Laura Collins' the eyes are full of little stars. The two founders of Google are also 37 and 36. How can they look like a boss, who is only 28 years old this year? The top 100 richest people in the world. Boss, you are the only one under 30 years old, Laura Collins said more and more excitedly. After all, the 100th Li Jianxi also has assets of $7.2 billion. Simon shook his head with a smile, and said helplessly, every time the rich list comes out, the reporters are always excited. According to this result, he and the two founders of Google should receive a lot of attention. Of the three people under the age of 40, he is the only one under the age of 30. In the future, have someone talk to Steve Forbes and remind this guy to keep a low profile in some respects. After all, this guy is the chairman of Forbes Media Group and editor-in-chief of Forbes magazine. Moreover, the future self must not be too high profile, and he must not be allowed to report too many things. By the way, boss, the movie Tai Chi will be released on 7.5 in China. Do you want to go there? Laura Collins asked, knowing that a boss seems to take time to go there every year. It's going to be released on 7.5? Isn't it a few months away? Simon was not worried about Stephen Chow's appeal in China. What about North American and European release dates? It's going to premiere at the Toronto Film Festival, then it'll start showing in North America, and then Europe and Australia, Laura Collins said, and added, the producer said that he should first look at the reputation and box office of the film in the Chinese market, and the company will invest in publicity and distribution funds according to the actual situation. Understood. Let's decide when the time comes. There are more things to do this year. Simon can't decide for a while now. Of course, he can go at any time for a few days, but Simon will not only stay for a few days. The TV department reported that the ratings of The Walking Dead and The Good Wife, which began airing last year, were quite good. Laura Collins reported again, right now, preparations are intensifying for a Netflix series based on George Martin's Game of Thrones, and Mr. Cook is a little undecided about the budget because it's going to be broadcast on streaming media. Is it too high? Laura Collins said that she handed Simon the project documents. Not really making a decision about the budget of Game of Thrones, which is close to $5 million per episode for the first season. Simon took over and looked at the progress. The project is in the process of scene selection and actor selection, and the high budget is also aimed at high-quality. Netflix wants to make a name for itself. This is the first self-made drama. It must be of high quality. You can look at this year's drama on HBO. The Pacific War just aired as Tom Hanks and Steve. Created by Spielberg, the epic-making Band of Brothers a few years ago was also developed by the two of them, and it has completely put HBO on a high-quality line, Simon said, putting down the document in his hand. Not only that, but HBO invited Martin Scorsese to create Empire of the Atlantic, which will also be broadcast this fall. Catherine Biggs, who just won the Oscar for Best Director, is preparing for the TV movie The Year of Miracles, which is also HBO's project. as well as big directors David Fincher and Jonathan Demme seem to be in talks with HBO for a co-production project, so now we have to put aside our thoughts of underestimating TV. It is inevitable for top filmmakers to enter the TV market. The adaptation of Game of Thrones is very important to Netflix. What Simon did not finish is that even if Zinghe Entertainment has AMC cable TV, what about the stakes? Online streaming and TV also need to compete. Okay, I will inform Mr. Cook to proceed according to the plan, Laura Collins said, nodded, and asked again, boss, do you like this novel too? Oh, it's alright. I like the movies and TV adaptations of these grand novels, and evaluate them from the senses on the screen, Simon responded with a smile. With the passage of time, the exchange rate of the euro against the dollar continued to decline, from 1.51 to 1.4, 1.3, 1.2, and by the end of April, it was already less than 1.2. Nine-Headed Bird Capital began to clear its positions at Simon's request. Whether it was Nine-Headed Bird Capital or Phoenix Fund, this wave was indeed a lot of money, more than $7 billion in ammunition, and in just 4 months, a 25% profit rate made everyone happy. Simon's owned $2 billion. Net income also reached $400 million. Rich in hand, cannot panic. The reputation of Nine-Headed Bird Capital has further increased. A steady stream of funds have begun to flow into Zinghe Entertainment, and the acquisition of NBC Universal Entertainment has come to an end. Throughout April, Nine-Bird Capital was mobilizing funds, and Zinghe Entertainment kept discussing the specific priorities of the acquisition through Blackstone Group and General Electric. Every asset, every loan, every money going in and out, no matter how small or small. At the same time, General Electric also spent $5.8 billion to recover a 20% stake in NBC Universal Entertainment from Vivendi. Doncaster's acquisitions have all but stalled since Simon offered $15 billion in cash. Even the U.S. Antitrust Agency Investigative Committee appears to have dropped Doncaster's antitrust investigation into the acquisition of NBC Universal Entertainment, a subsidiary of General Electric. The whole month of sparring has focused on valuing the amount of debt NBC Universal and NBC Universal have undertaken. NBC Universal's asset estimates and the amount of debt it should assume involve the most direct monetary interests, and no one is willing to give in. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.